happened here for the first time that the government agency responsible for fertilizer and pesticide is sharing our responsibility, especially for the youth.
Pumunta sa farm, naka-PPE. Ang aming ipinabahagi ay yung tamang pamamaraan tungkol sa wastong paggamit ng PPE.
Ayan, Jen, introduce mo daw yourself. Hi, good morning everyone. I'm Janina Signabon, part of CropLife HRAC po.
Yan, welcome po sa ating lahat. So Jen, anong next part ng ating program so we can start?
Ayan. So we can start now po. Good morning everyone. So please direct our attention to play our Philippine National Anthem and followed by our opening prayer. Sir Bowie.
Bayang magiliw, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiliw, sa manlulupi, kita masisingil, sa lalat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mo bahay. Ay nilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang pinamahal. Ang isang ng watawat mo'y nagumpay na nag-iigil. Ang bituin ng araw niya kailan ang ating magdidilig. Lupa ng araw ng aming pagsita, buhay langit sa likod. Aming ligaya dapat may mamagin, at namatay ng tayo sa'yo.
Yan. Thank you, Bo, for our national anthem and playing our prayer. So next part of our program, so we would like to hear quick welcome remarks from our CropLife Philippines Vice President, Mr. Fernando C. Tagalog. So, Bo, please play the video of Sir Nanding.
Magandang umaga po sa lahat. On behalf of CropLife Philippines, I would like to extend our warmest welcome to all the participants on this webinar. When we have webinars like this, we always feel excited. Basically, we start with asking, what's new? Knowing that this is again an opportunity to be updated on developments in the industry and not just widen our knowledge in our field of work. We are thankful to the Herbicide Resistance Action Committee of CropLife Philippines for taking the lead in gathering all concerned stakeholders for the series of webinars on the current weed status in rice, corn, and now plantation crops like banana and pineapple. As we have cited, it is again an opportunity for us to learn the different practices or methods in controlling weeds. It is indeed a privilege that we have reputable experts on banana and pineapple operations here today in attendance. Let me assure our organizers have worked out a forum where all of us can take part and possible share our insights. Insights on how the industry, in partnership with government, can help sustain herbicide resistance under the current situation that we are taking precautionary measures in our work amid the global COVID-19 pandemic. For starters, let us keep in mind that efficient and effective methods stay vital if we want to sustain the gains of the banana industry. All here today have a role in ensuring this, whether we are part of a big or small plantations. For many, the task is not just to be efficient, but to ensure that we are cost efficient in our science-based approach in overseeing a traditional crop, an important export crop like banana and pineapple. We have shown successes in the past. As we have often put it, diversity has always been the key to managing herbicide resistance and minimizing forewarned risks. Now let us focus our discussions on how our efforts can be more rewarding, especially at a time when we continue to face the challenge for agriculture's long-term sustainability. Together, let us enhance our knowledge and share experiences so that we can later further echo what we have discussed to a wider audience among fellow stakeholders. Again, welcome at mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Sir Nanding. Now, to have a glimpse of our topic for today, let us all watch our explainer video about herbicide resistance.
Parami ba ng parami ang mga tumutubong damo sa inyong sakahan? Umaabot na ba ito sa punto na tila hindi na namamatay ang mga damo kahit ilang beses ispreyan ng herbicide? Baka herbicide resistance na yan. Ano-ano nga bang dahilan at bakit dumadami ang mga damong hindi na kayang patayin ng mga nakasanayan na laging ginagamit at dating mabisang herbicide laban sa katulad ding damo? At mas importanteng tanong, kaya pa ba itong mapigilan at masolusyonan? Hayaan ninyong ituro namin ang mga paraan kung paano maiiwasan at masusolusyonan ang ganitong problema sa mga sakahan. Sa pamamagitan ng Herbicide Resistance Management.
Magandang araw sa inyong lahat mula sa CropLife Philippines. Ang damo ay isa sa pangunahing suliranin ng ating mga magsasaka sa kanilang taniman. Kapag hindi lubusang nasugpo o nakontrol, ito ay magdudulot ng pagbaba ng ani at kita hanggang 35%. Kaya naman, mahalaga ang ginagampanan ng papel ng mga herbisidyo o herbicides upang epektibong makontrol ang damo sa ating mga taniman. Gayunpaman, kapag hindi wasto ang paggamit sa mga herbisidyon ito ay magdudulot ng herbicide resistance. Dahil po dito, ang CropLife Philippines ay gumawa ng isang video tutorial upang lubusang maipaliwanag ang herbicide resistance management.
Ano nga bang herbicide resistance at paano ito nag-uumpisa? Ang herbicide resistance ay ang naipapamanang kakayahan ng damo na mabuhay at hindi tabla ng isang uri ng herbicide na kaya namang pumatay ng ibang kauring damo. Dumadami ang damo may sadyang angking tibay laban sa uri na magkakatulad na herbicide base na rin sa paggamit ng magsasaka dito. Habang patuloy ang paulit-ulit na paggamit ng iisang herbicide sa sakahan, dumadami ang mga damong hindi na tinatabla na tumuunti ang bilang ng mga damong kayang puksain ito. Bakit kaya nagkakaganito? Silipin natin kung ano ba nangyari sa isang sakahan. Sa isang sakahan, normal na tumutubo ang mga damo na may iba't ibang biotypes o mga katangian na may kinalaman sa pagtubo at pagdami ng mga ito. May dalawang uri ng biotypes. Ang una ay ang damo na resistant. Ito yung mga damong hindi namamatay kahit may sprayan ng herbicide. Mayroon ding mga seeds na galing sa katulad na matitibay o di tinatablang damo na matagal nang nakadeposito sa lupa dahil sadyang naipon na. Ngayon, kung patuloy na ginagamit ang produktong di epektibo, mas patuloy na dadami ang mga seeds ng damong matibay. Paalala, namamana ang resistance o ang kakayahan ng damo na hindi tabla ng herbicide. Ang isa pang uri ng biotypes ay ang susceptible o iyong tinatablan. Ito naman yung mga damong madaling mamatay kapag nalagyan ng kaparehas na herbicide. Sa pangkalahatan, marami at iba-iba pa rin ang uri ng mga damo. Kaya naman ginawa ang labeled rates para masigurong epektibo ang pagpatay sa mas maraming uri ng damo. Sa labeled rates, makikita ang tamang active ingredient pati na rin ang wastong dami ng herbicide na gagamitin sa kada ektarya ng sakahan. Dagdag pa rito, siguraduhin gawin ang pag-spray ayon sa rekomendadong timing. Ibig sabihin, dapat sundin ang labeled rates dahil ito ang inirerekomenda ng mga eksperto. Kapag sobra kasi ang ginamit, maaaring masira ang mga pananim at karagdagang gastos lang ito. Kung kaunti at laging kulang naman ang dosage, hindi makakayang patayin ng herbicide ang damo at mas maraming makakalusot na damong kakayanin ng underdose. Suriin natin kung paano nag-uumpisa at dumadami ang mga damong herbicide resistant sa mga sakahan. Halimbawa, makikita natin na sa unang paggamit, mangilan-ngilan lang ang resistant na damo sa sakahan habang marami ang susceptible. Ipagpalagay natin na hindi sinunod ng magsasaka ang nakasulat na labeled rates dahil hindi pa nila alam ang konsepto ng herbicide resistance. Matapos may sprayan ng herbicide, namatay ang mga susceptible na damo o yung mga tinatablan, habang ang resistant na damo o hindi tinatablan ay nabuhay. Lumaki ang resistant na damo at naglabas ng seeds sa lupa. Sa mga unang pagkakataon, successful ang pagkontrol sa damo. Sa kalaunan, kapansin-pansin na mas dumadami ang bilang ng mga resistant na damo. Sa mga susunod pang paggamit ng parehas na produkto, mapupuno na ng mga seeds na resistant ang lupa. At sa pagkakataong ito, bigo na ang magsasaka sa pagpatay ng mga damo sa kanyang sakahan. Ano-ano nga ba ang mga bagay-bagay na nakakaapekto sa bilis ng pagdami ng mga resistant na damo? Paggamit ng iisang uri ng mode of action herbicide ng tuloy-tuloy. Hindi pagsunod sa nakasulat sa label. Dalas ng paggamit ng herbicidyo. Mechanism of action ng herbicidyo. At biology o katangian ng damo. Paano naman malalaman ang level ng herbicide resistance? Ang tindi ng weed resistance ay nakabase sa weed biology at mekanismo. Sa ilang mga kaso, ang tunay na resistance ay nakikita kapag mayroong mga damong nabubuhay matapos ang aplikasyon ng labeled rate at wastong timing batay sa good agricultural practice. May mga pagkakataon pa nga na ang mga damo ay maaaring mabuhay kahit gaano kataas ang aplikasyon kumpara sa labeled rate. May tatlong uri ng herbicide resistance. Ang single herbicide resistance kung saan ang damo ay resistant lamang sa iisang herbicide. Ang cross herbicide resistance kung saan ang damo ay resistant sa dalawa o mahigit pang uri ng herbicide na may parehong mode of action o paraan ng pagpatay. At ang multiple herbicide resistance kung saan ang damo ay resistant sa dalawa o higit pang herbicide na magkaiba ang mode of action. Base sa pag-aaral, ang mga pinakamahusay na paraan para maiwasan ang herbicide resistance sa mga damo ay itinatag sa konsepto ng diversity o pagkakaiba-iba. Ang diversity ay maaaring makamit sa paggamit ng iba't ibang kombinasyon ng mga paraang nagpapababa ng selection pressure ng isang nakasanayang paraan. Ang herbicide resistance management ay pwedeng proactive o reactive. Ang reactive management ay isang estilo ng pamamahala kung saan ito ay tumutugon lamang sa mga nangyayaring pagbabago sa sakahan. Gagawa lamang ng mga hakbang o taktika kapag kumpirmadong resistant o hindi na tinatablan ng herbicide ang mga damo. Ang proactive management naman ay ang pagpapatupad ng mga taktika sa pagkontrol ng damo bago maging kapansin-pansin ang pagdami ng mga damo na herbicide resistant. Isinasaalang-alang nito ang maaaring mangyari sa hinaharap at pinagpaplanuhan ito bago mangyari. Ito ang ilan sa halimbawa ng mga desisyon na kailangang isaalang-alang. Supply at uri ng binhi, mga kagamitang kakailanganin, supply ng pataba at ang gagamiting paraan sa pagkontrol ng damo. Pinaniniwala ang kritikal ang proactive na paraan ng pamamahala ng resistance para sa pangmatagalang pagpapanatili ng mga epektibong herbicides. Tulad na lang sa kaso ng glyphosate na epektibo pa rin hanggang ngayon sa GT corn. Ito ang mga pakinabang ng proactive na pamamahala ng resistance. Una, pinapanatili nito ang potensyal ng magandang ani. Pangalawa, matipid ito kumpara sa mga reactive na pamamaraan. Ikatlo, pinipigilan nito ang mga biglaan at panandaliang pagbabago sa mga nakagawiang paraan ng pagsasaka. Panghuli, pinoprotektahan nito ang pagiging epektibo ng mga herbicides para sa hinaharap. Kung mainam ang proactive na pananaw para masolusyonan ang herbicide resistance, ano-ano nga ba ang mga proactive na estratehiyang pwedeng gamitin? Ilan sa mga subok na taktika ay ang paggamit ng herbicide, mechanical at cultural practice. Sa taktikang herbicide, gumagamit ng iba't ibang uri ng herbicides na may iba-ibang mode of action o paraan ng pagpatay sa mga damo. Bukod sa paggamit ng herbicide ayon sa labeled rates, dapat ay tama rin ang timing at paraan ng pag-apply ng chemical na ito. Sa taktikang mechanical naman, gumagamit ng wastong pagbubungkal at pag-aararo ng lupa, bago, habang at pagkatapos ng taniman para makontrol ang damo. Habang sa taktikang cultural naman, gumagamit ng crop rotation o pagpapalit-palit ng tanim. Kailangan din ng tamang espasyo kada tanim, pati eksaktong petsa ng pagtatanim at paglalagay ng mga pataba. Mga iba't ibang paraan ng pag-a-apply ng herbicide na may iba-ibang mode of action o MOA para pamahalaan ang herbicide resistance. Ano-ano nga ba ang mga ito? Kailangan pagsalit-saliti ng paggamit ng mga herbicide base sa iba't ibang modes of action o MOA. Ang dalas ng pagkakaroon ng mga damong resistant ay babagal kapag gumagamit ng iba't ibang mga herbicide na may iba-ibang mode of action. Pinahahaba rin nito ang pagiging epektibo ng produkto. Sa taktikang paggamit ng herbicidyo naman, ito ang mga kailangang tandaan. Ang tank mixing o paggamit ng mga premix na mga produkto na may iba't ibang mga mode of action at aktibidad sa parehong target ng mga damo ay maaaring maging epektibo. Inaantala nito ang pagsisimula ng herbicide-resistant weeds. Sa proactive na pamamahala ng herbicide resistance, importante na sundin ang GAP o Good Agricultural Practices, pati ang paggamit ng full labeled rates. Ang labeled rate ay ang rate o hanay ng mga rates na rehistrado ng Fertilizer and Pesticide Authority. Ito ang rates na epektibo sa pagkontrol ng herbicide resistance, habang underdose rate ay kulang at hindi magbibigay ng epektibong kontrol. Hindi rin ito magkakaloob ng tuloy-tuloy na kontrol sa isang malawak na hanay ng mga kondisyon. Sa huli, ang palagiang exposure sa mababang rate ng herbicide ay humahantong sa ebolusyon ng populasyon na herbicide resistant. Ilan pang mga paalala tungkol sa MOA o mode of action. Kailangang kilalanin at intindihin ng mga growers at extension workers kung aling mga produkto ang maaaring isalit-salit ng paggamit ayon sa mode of action. Habang ang mga kumpanya sa kabilang banda ay dapat naman magbigay ng technical brochure na tumutukoy sa MOA. Mayroon ding mode of action classification ang HRAC o ang Herbicide Resistance Action Network na maaaring pagbasehan. Tumungo naman tayo sa mga mechanical tactics na may iba't ibang mga techniques din tulad ng pre-plant tillage, strip or zone tillage, in-crop cultivation, post-harvest mowing, tillage, manual weeding, hand-rugging, hoeing, at weed seed capture. Paalala, kailangan ding panatilihing malinis ang mga equipment at gamit para mapabagal ang pagdami ng mga di tinatablang damo at seeds. Ang proactive management ay nangangailangan din ng mga cultural tactics. Mayroon ding mga agronomic practices tulad ng pagpili ng mga hybrids o iba't ibang mga pagkakaiba sa mga oras ng pagtatanim, fertilizer management, row spacing at mga populasyon ng halaman depende sa hybrid variety, seedbed preparation at mga teknik sa pag-aani. Ang lahat ng mga ito ay maaaring makaimpluwensya sa growth cycle ng mga species at maaari makapagbigay ng kalamangan sa pananim. Halimbawa, ang narrow crop row spacings ay kayang mabilis na mabigyan ng lilim ang mga sensitibong mga species ng weed. Habang mas matagal na panahon ng kontrol ng damo naman, ang karaniwang kinakailangan para sa mas malawak na row spacings. Ang pangangasiwa ng mga damo sa mga borders bago ang pamumulaklak nito ay mahalaga rin upang maiwasan ang pollen movement sa pagitan ng mga resistant at susceptible na mga pananim. Ang pag-iwas sa paglipat ng mga seeds mula sa field patungo sa katabing field sa pamamagitan ng pag-alis ng mga kagamitan bago ito ilipat ay maaari makapagpabagal sa pagkalat ng herbicide resistance. Sa pangkalahatan, ang mga nakagawiang kultura ay may malaking impluwensya sa komposisyon at paglago ng mga damo. Ang mga ito ay nakaka-impluwensya rin sa dami ng weeds at pagkalat ng mga herbicide-resistant weeds. Sana ay marami kayong natutunan sa panonood ng video na ito. Tandaan, pag-aralan at sundin ang mga estratehiyang inyong napanood para maayos na mapamahalaan ang herbicide resistance. Maraming salamat at mabuhay ang mga magsasaka.
Yan. Thank you po for watching our AVP on herbicide resistance. So I hope marami po tayong nakuhang information doon sa ating AVP. So that's our general presentation on herbicide resistance management. So plug in ko lang po, live din tayo ngayon sa Facebook. We are live in Facebook and also here in Zoom. So in Zoom, we are close to 300 participants. So thank you po sa ating mga participants. And don't forget po your questions dito sa Zoom, sa ating chat box. Just type it in our Q&A. And also in Facebook, please type it in the chat box. We are gathering all the questions. And we'll try to manage most of them during our Q&A. Sa ating pong Q&A, ipa-plug po natin ang ating mga questions. Ayan, Ms. Jen, sino pa ang ating next sa ating program?
Ayan. So, dagdag ko lang, Sir Nover, no? Yung sa mga participants natin, you can watch more explainer videos po sa ating CropLife YouTube about crop protection, stewardship, and other related topics. So, to introduce our first speaker for today, may we call on Ms. Felina Amurao, member of CropLife HRAC Committee. Phil?
Hello, good morning, Ms. Jen. Thank you po.
Morning.
So to introduce our speaker for today, is my audio clear? Okay lang po ba yung audio ko? Okay po. So our speaker for today is Dr. Riofeli Salas Perez. She is a senior research scientist in Dole Philippines, Inc. She specializes in plant physiology and weed control. She also graduated magna cum laude at the Visayas State University with a degree in BS Agriculture Chemistry. She then finished both her Master's in Science and PhD in Crop, Soil, and Environmental Sciences at the University of Arkansas, where she was also awarded the Outstanding Master of Science student at the Department of Crop, Soil, and Environmental Science. She was also awarded the Outstanding PhD student at the Southern Weed Science Society of America. Dr. Rio has authored and co-authored 2 book chapters, 16 peer-reviewed journal articles, 8 non-refereed publications, and 52 abstracts. She has also presented 26 oral and 21 poster research papers at scientific meetings and contests from 2009 to 2019. Her recent refereed publication is entitled Ammonium Sulfate Improves the Efficacy of Glyphosate on South African Lovegrass, Eragrostic plana, under water stress. So let's all give a warm welcome to Dr. Rio.
Yan. Good morning po, Doc Rio.
Morning, Doc Rio.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Is my audio okay?
Yes po, it's clear.
Can you all see my presentation?
Yes, Doc Rio, we can see it now.
Yes po, let's see.
Okay. So good morning, good morning to each and everyone. And today I'm going to discuss a little bit about herbicide program in pineapple, as well as the different weed management strategies that are employed in pineapple plantation. So I'm not really an expert in pineapple. I've been here in Dole for almost, will be 4 years this coming July. But before we go to the real deal, let's have some trivia questions. And the first person to give the letter of the correct answer will win a prize, courtesy of the CropLife Philippines. So are you guys ready?
Doc
Yes.
Rio, pa full screen daw po nung slide.
Next screen, ano po?
Pa full screen po nung slide, Doc. Pa slideshow po.
Teka ha, kasi...
Ayan. So, konting ano muna. So, sa mananalo po sa games or sa trivia ni Doc Rio for today, 3 winners will be coming from our Zoom chat participants, and 3 winners will be coming from our FB viewers and participants po.
Saglit lang ha, because may mga something, hindi ko makita yung, hindi ko paano mag-full screen ito.
Sa ilalim, Doc. Yan, yung pinaka, yan po.
I don't think so.
Yan po, Doc. Slideshow na lang po.
Hindi ko kasi makita.
Okay po.
Yan, slideshow.
Yan, yun po, Doc.
Okay.
Yan po. So, marami ng questions. Mukhang nakaready na po yung mga kamay ng participants.
Okay. For the first question, siguraduhin may GCash kayo para makareceive ng prize. So, the first trivia. Okay. So, according to the FAO Statistical Database in 2020, this country is considered as the largest producer of pineapple worldwide. Is it A, Philippines, B, Costa Rica, C, Brazil, and D, Indonesia? Okay. I think siguro marami na nag-type ng answer.
Marami po. Ang bibilis po magsagot, Doc Rio, sa chat box.
Mabilis po ang internet nila.
Mabilis po ang internet nila.
Okay.
May mga sumagot, Doc. Costa Rica, Brazil. Ano po ba ang tamang sagot?
Correct answer is A, Philippines.
Okay, Philippines. So, ang una pong nanalo ay si Esli Nang.
Okay.
Unang nakasagot ng letter A. Sige po, banggitin po namin later kung sino yung tatlo, pero siya po yung una kong nakita na nakasagot ng Philippines, ng letter A. Marami pong sumagot ng Costa Rica at Brazil. Na-confuse siguro. Kahit siguro ako na-confuse din, Doc.
Costa Rica, Brazil.
Philippines pala.
Philippines. In the recent survey, in 2019, it was Costa Rica. But in 2020, it was Philippines. So, second question. May chance pa kayong manalo.
For 500 pesos GCash.
500 pesos GCash. Okay. With identification. So, this creeping broadleaf weed has a square stem, opposite leaf, and with purplish blue, sometimes white with dark purple streak flower. Its seeds are dispersed from explosive capsules. It has weak hairy stem with nodes that will root when they touch the ground, furthering its ability to spread. So what is the identity of this weed? This is very common in pineapple farm? Is it A, Borreria osmosis, B, Micania micranta, C, Acistacia gangetica, and D, Ludwigia octovalves?
Ayan, so marami na po Doc nag-type ng kanilang answers.
Okay.
Tapos plug lang din natin pati sa Facebook po yung mga nasa
Oo.
nanonood po sa Facebook, pwede rin po kayong manalo. So please type in your answers. Either letter, yung iba po complete scientific name pa, talagang kabisado.
Masipag mag-type eh.
Masipag. Thank you po. Thank you po sa mag-type ng answers.
Mukhang ang common answer, Doc Leo, ay B, C, D. So, dun naglalaro yung answers nila.
Anong answer? The correct answer is letter C, Acistacia gangetica, also known as Chinese violet or sili-sili.
May mga tumama naman po, Doc Leo, pero confused ang ating participants. Very wide po yung answers. Walang talagang letter silang.
Okay, but if you go here to Mindanao, you will see a lot of this weed. Okay, so congratulations sa winners po natin, and the CropLife Philippines will contact you so that you can receive your prize. Okay, so now let's go to the real deal. So about pineapple. So pineapple is a major commodity in the Philippines. In fact, Philippines is now the leading country in pineapple production worldwide, followed by Costa Rica, Brazil, and Indonesia. So in 2019, Philippines ranked second, but in 2020, we managed to overtake Costa Rica by 0.1 metric tons. Philippines is considered as the second largest exporter with 419,000 tons of pineapple, next to Costa Rica. So with 66,000 hectares planted with pineapple, Philippines produced about 2.75 million metric tons in 2019. Pineapple is extensively cultivated in Mindanao region. So Mindanao accounts 88% of the total hectareage in pineapple in the Philippines, and about 58% in northern Mindanao, and about 30% in Soc-Sargen or Region 12. So these are the big plantation are located in Mindanao. Luzon and Visayas only accounts to almost 11% of pineapple production. In terms of volume of production in the Philippines, pineapple only ranks 6th, with sugarcane leading the volume of production. In terms of land areas planted, pineapple ranked 11th with 66,000 hectares planted in 2019. Okay, these numbers are sourced from the Philippine Statistics Authority. Pineapple is profitable. So if it's not profitable, then there should be no growers planting pineapple, or it's really profitable since we have a lot of pineapple plantation in the Philippines. So according to PSA, for every peso invested in pineapple production, it will have a net gain or a return of investment of 3 pesos and 77 centavos. So in 1 hectare, it will cost around 95,000 pesos for the total cost, for the maintenance cost. But the gross return is 453,000 pesos per hectare. And so the net return is per hectare is 358,000 pesos. So it's very big. So the cost of production per kilogram is around 2 pesos and 28 centavos, but the farm gate price for every kilogram of pineapple is equivalent to 10 pesos and 89 centavos. So there is a large profit in pineapple production. So pineapple, as we all know, is a tropical fruit, and it is the most economically important plant under the bromeliad family. And it's mainly grown for its fruits, either for fresh or in processed form. So pineapple or Ananas squamosus is a slow-growing plant. Um, uh, it takes around 12 to 15 months from planting to flowering, and the fruits are ready to harvest almost 1.5 years from planting. So it's a long duration crop, unlike rice and corn. And the critical weed-free period in pineapple is the first 6 to 8 months from planting. So because of the slow growth rate of pineapple, it does not cover the ground well enough to suppress the weeds from developing in the first 8 months. And the competition from weed during this stage is severe since the pineapple is less vigorous. So studies have shown that weed infestation throughout the production cycle can reduce pineapple yield by 70%. So it's very important to manage weeds in pineapple. Otherwise, you will not have any profit, or you will have a reduced yield. So before we go to the herbicide management in pineapple, let's have a quick look about the life cycle of pineapple. So the new planting of pineapple is called a plant crop, and it takes about 15 to 21 months before you can have the first harvest. So depending on the type and size of planting material, it will take about 9 to 15 months before a floral induction. So the vegetative stage is really it's close to 1 year, or even 1 year. And then from floral induction to harvest, it will take 6 months. So you will have the first harvest after 18 months of waiting. Then after the plant crop harvest, you will have a sucker, which will be the ratoon, and it will take another about 14 to 16 months before you can have the harvest in your ratoon. So in total, it will take, typically requires a cycle of about 2.5 to 3 years. And during this cycle, you can only have two harvests, one from plant crop and one from the ratoon crop. And for every plant of pineapple, for each harvest, you'll only have one fruit. So every fruit counts, because unlike in other crops where a plant can have many fruits, but in pineapple, it's only one. So weeds are major constraint to pineapple production. So not just in pineapple, but in almost all crops. And it incurs significant cost if not managed successfully. So just like other crops, weeds in pineapple include grasses, broadleaves, and sedges. The most common weed in pineapple is none other than Illucin indica, or goosegrass, locally known as paragis or palagtiki. There are also some grass like Digitaria, the Digitaria satigaria, and it's called as bungot-bungot because of its hairy stem. Uh, we also have Panicum, Paspalum, and even Saccharum spontaneum. And aside from grasses, there are also some broadleaf weeds such as the Crassosephalum crepidioides, the Cleome rotidosperma, and the one that was in the trivia, which is the silicili or Acistacia gangetica. This Acistacia gangetica is a noxious and invasive weed, and it's very problematic because it's a creeper, and it's a facultative climber, and it can form dense colonies. And the problem with this is it's difficult to eradicate mechanically because it can propagate from cuttings. So once the node touches a moist soil, so it roots. And normally we have this problem. So after the flowering of pineapple, because we don't use herbicide, so this Acistacia will just grow and in open spaces and devour that area if not managed successfully. And of course, we have some sedges we know that sedges are difficult to control. Luckily, we only have few areas with this infestation. The problem with sedges is some sedges have rhizomes, so they are perennial, and we have there are only limited herbicides that are able to control this weed. So weeds are resilient. So despite being killed, hated, and killed with every chance we get, they are pervasive and seemingly invincible. So it's a long battle. It's a never-ending battle with weeds. You kill them, and then there are new flashes again. So we keep on killing them, and then they appear again. So it's a never-ending battle. But that's how it works. It needs hard work, because if you don't do hard work, nothing grows but weeds. So I think pineapple plantation in the Philippines has been here for almost 60 years. In fact, Dolefield just celebrated its 59th year this year. But for almost 60 years, there are only 6 registered herbicides in pineapple in the Philippines. Imagine 6. And these are diuron, sulfentrazone, amitrine, bromacil, fluazepop, and quizalofop. And if you take at the mode of action, it's only 3 mode of action. The diuron, amitrine, and bromacil are PS2 inhibitors. So they are the photosynthesis inhibitors. And these have been used in pineapple for several decades, even before coming to Dole. And we have 2 ACCA herbicide, the fluazepop and quizalofop. These are grass killers. And the newest addition to the group is sulfentrazone. This is a protoporphyrinidine oxidase inhibitor. So only 6 herbicide registered in pineapple. So herbicides are applied multiple times in the plant cycle. So there is a herbicide application just before planting, or immediately after planting, and then during the vegetative stage before canopy closure. So no more herbicides after flowering. So diuron and amitrine can be applied before and after planting. They have pre-emergence and post-emergence activity. The bromacil is applied before the planting material grow, and sulfentrazone is applied in pineapple before planting, because if it's only labeled before planting, if you apply it after planting, it will injure the crop. The fluazepop and quizalofop can control actively growing grasses, so they're only applied post-emergence. So because of the limited registered herbicides in pineapple, there are only very few herbicide options. So we can only do so much because we are very limited by these 6 herbicides. And considering that pineapple is a slow-growing plant and the wide spacing rows, the field is prone to continual with seed germination and growth for almost 8 months. And for the 3-year cycle, the maximum of herbicide applications in pineapple is only 6. So, and because pineapple are usually for export, and there are only very limited herbicide with a maximum residue limit. So the challenge for pineapple, especially for the herbicides in pineapple, is that we only have very few herbicide options, so which limits our herbicide program. And of course, because usually the pineapple plantation are exporting. One factor is also is we need a pesticide that has an MRL so that we can export to other countries. So these limited herbicide options is pose poses risk for herbicide resistance. Although at the moment in the Philippines there is no confirmed herbicide resistance in pineapple plantation, but it will likely be an issue in the future because of the limited herbicide options. So far wala pa mang nare-report, wala pa yatang nag-confirm ng resistance sa pineapple plantation. But if it will occur, probably siguro ang maiisip ko na siguro ang mas prone na magiging resistant population is the Illucin indica or the goosegrass, because this is more common, and a single plant of this weed can produce more than 50,000, even more than 100,000 seeds, which can easily be dispersed by water, wind, by human being, by animals, and by machinery. And the goosegrass, 7 days from emergence, it will have 3-leaf stage. 9 days from emergence, magkakaroon na siya ng 4-leaf stage. And at 38 days after emergence, magano na siya, magpa-flower na siya, mag-seed na siya. So there is a short window of control sa goosegrass. And if you miss the correct size, or if you miss the timing, then for sure you'll have a poor control of this weed. But just recently, last year, there was a herbicide resistant weed in pineapple plantation, but this came from Indonesia, okay? Not Philippines, Indonesia. So this diuron resistant Illucini indica actually was coming from a pineapple plantation that was with long or with continuous long-term diuron. So that plantation was for a long time they were using diuron in their weed management. So in that paper, it says that the effective dose to cause 50% mortality, or known as the ED50, the diuron-resistant biotype has 2.8 times higher than the ED50 of the sensitive biotype. So it's around about, so if you do 6.8 divided by 2.43, so about 3 times. The resistance index is 2.8. This is still considered a low resistance level. The mechanism of resistance in this biotype was not investigated in the study, but it could either be a target site mutation, or it could be a detoxification of the herbicide or sequestration of the herbicide to the vacuoles or cell wall, or reduce herbicide absorption and translocation, but it was not part of the study. So if this scenario already occurred in a pineapple plantation in Indonesia, it will likely happen here in the Philippines. It's just a matter of time. So, so how does selection for herbicide resistance occur? So I think this was presented earlier. I would just like to point out that the herbicide does not cause the resistance directly. It's the repeated application of the herbicide that will favor the selection of the resistant individuals. So because normally in a weed population, there is a wide range of genetic variability. So for example here, you have a lot of weeds here, and maybe there is one individual there with a genetic trait that can endow resistance to a specific herbicide. So itong green. So siya lang nag-iisa. Meron siyang katangian that makes the plant resistant or survive a certain herbicide. Siguro may mutation siya or meron siyang something. So when a herbicide is applied, most of the sensitive or susceptible biotypes are killed. So patay itong mga black. Sinong may iwan? Ang resistant biotype kasi meron siyang kakayahan. And then, if this resistant plant is able to set seed, may seed siya, tapos marami na siyang seed sa seed bank, and then it will germinate again, and then if the farmer continue to apply the same herbicide, so eventually dadami na siya kasi magsiset siya ng seed until such time that the field will be dominated by the resistant plant. So it's basically the repeated application of the same herbicide will favor the selection of these resistant individuals. So ayun, kung paulit-ulit magkakaroon ng ganito. So there are farming practices and by weed biology that increase the risk of herbicide resistance. So the most important factor here is the frequent use of herbicide with the same mode of action. So in an example lang ito not here in the Philippines, in the United States, in the advent of the Roundup Ready crop, so the farmers used to apply glyphosate. Wala nang ibang herbicide, glyphosate lang kasi mas convenient. So ang nangyari, there were weeds that evolved resistance to glyphosate. Kasi wala nang ginagamit ng farmers ng iba, siya lang. So that's a perfect disaster for herbicide resistance, or a perfect recipe for disaster. So monocultures and crop rotations that rely on the same herbicide mechanism of action for weed control also poses a risk of herbicide resistance. So if you don't rotate your crops, because if you don't rotate your crops, you will have the same weeds, the same herbicide applied. You don't break the cycle. And if you don't incorporate other non-chemical weed control, such as cultivation, competitive, and cover crops, if you only rely on the single herbicide, then it is a higher risk of herbicide resistance. Weed biology also increases the risk of herbicide resistance. So for example, the density of weeds. If you have more weeds, it would mean a higher chance of resistance. So kailangan na less density sa weeds kasi more weeds para bang nag-enroll ka ng raffle, more chances of winning, ganun. So more weeds, higher chance of resistance. Frequency of resistance in the population. So if there is a greater genetic diversity in that certain weed, it means a higher chance of resistance. And also the reproductive capacity of the weed. So weeds that produce a high number of seeds can spread more resistance more quickly. So yung resito, yung mga weeds that can generate a lot of seeds to the seed bank. So ayan, high risk din yan. Kasi mahirap i-control pag marami na siyang seeds. Imagine 1 year of seeding equals to 7 years of weeding. So in pineapple cultivation, effective weed management consider the integration of different approaches. So we call it integrated weed management. So it's a combination of chemical, mechanical, and cultural methods. This is the tawag nila, diversity. So this is to manage and to delay herbicide resistance. So of course, in the IWM, there is a chemical. The chemical approach is included. This is the use of herbicides of different modes of action following the correct label rate and applied to the correct um, size of the weeds. There's also mechanical approach such as the use of machinery like hoeing or tilling or good land preparation just before you're planting the crop. And of course, supplemental hand weeding. And of course, the cultural approaches, cultural methods such as mulching, planting a competitive crop, or adjusting the planting density, or using a cover crop, or preventing weed seed dissemination. So it should be the mixture of these three approaches to have an effective weed control in pineapple. So let's tackle individually. For the herbicide program, so in pineapple, we use pre-emergence and post-emergence herbicide. So the pre-emergence, we apply this one before weeds emerge, and the post-emergence, we apply this one to control the actively growing weeds. And normally, before planting pineapple, we apply a pre-emergence herbicide or a pre-plant herbicide. It's like an insurance. And then at planting or during the growing period, we apply post-emergence herbicide and uh, also a chemical that will have a residual activity. So, so remember, we have 6 registered herbicides. So, ituloy yung pagpipilian namin kasi yan lang available. But of course, we integrate it with other methods such as the mechanical and the cultural. So we use herbicide mixtures or sequential treatments of herbicide having different sites of action. So which will be effective against target weeds. So if you do tank mixing herbicides, meaning you are using 2 herbicides or more than 2, different mode of action, it will broaden the spectrum of control, improve efficacy of the combined herbicide, and help delay the herbicide resistance. So for example, um, we apply fluacifoc. This is a grass killer, and we mix it with diaron. Diaron is able to control some broadleaves and some grasses, plus have residual activity. So we incorporate herbicide mixtures and sequential application of different modes of action. And of course, to ensure the efficacy of the herbicide, um, the grower or the applicator should follow the labeled instruction in the product label. So following the correct rate and correct timing of application, and the correct equipment. So if you don't follow this, it will be a recipe for disaster. And also, since I mentioned that we apply a pre-emergence herbicide, and usually pre-emergence herbicide are soil applied herbicide. And it's very important that these soil applied herbicide are activated by rainfall to ensure that the herbicide goes to the soil solution where you have the seeds. So if you apply a soil applied herbicide and then no rainfall, you will notice that the herbicide is not working properly because of it was not activated. And of course, need to monitor any changes, the herbicide results in the field, and if there are any changes in the weeds population, so that it can be evaluated or analyzed if there's herbicide resistance, or probably there are other factors affecting the poor control. And sprayer calibration is very important, that the sprayer is calibrated properly to ensure coverage, to ensure the correct volume is delivered to the target area. So weed control herbicide control may not always be 100% effective, and some escapes can occur for numerous reasons. So, situations leading to herbicide failure can include herbicide resistance, or it could be that it was not applied properly, the sprayer was not calibrated, or it was applied to already large matured plants. So, before we go to resist, kung hindi siya namatay, pwede siyang herbicide resistance, or pwede namang hindi tama yung pag-apply. May mga problema. For example, ito. The picture on the right, you have a pineapple with flowering grasses. So if you apply your herbicide here, don't expect that it will effectively control, because the herbicides, it is effective. It is mostly effective to herbicide to seedlings or to weeds that are young and tender. Pag mature na yan, pag mature na yung weeds, mahirap na siya patayin. Because mahirap mag ano ng coverage pag pag malalaki na. At saka the cuticle of the matured weeds are thicker, which is a barrier for herbicide absorption. So the herbicide should be applied to young and tender weeds. So like this picture on the left. So pag mali ang timing, baka pangitin ang result. So mas na tama yung timing. Here, this is the importance of the application of a pre-emergence herbicide. These two areas, actually this is taken from adjacent field. The picture on the right, this is the field with a pre-emergence herbicide. So malinis. You start really clean because you have a pre-emergence herbicide. Parang may insurance ka na. But the picture on the left, this was not applied with the pre-emergence herbicide. So if this field was applied with the pre-emergence, malamang itong mangyari sa kanya. But because it was not applied, kaya ganito nangyari. So mahirap na siya kontrolin. So it's better if you apply a pre-emergence herbicide. For example, in this one, this field was not planted with pineapple because probably kulang ng planting material, and this was not applied with a pre-emergence. So ang nangyari, ayan, meron na siyang new flushes. So kailangan maging proactive. So you prevent the emergence of the herbicide, pre-emergence of weeds, by applying a pre-emergence herbicide. And sprayer calibration is very important because it will ensure that you apply the correct label or the correct rate according to the product label. So check for any clogs. So because if you have a clogged nozzle, it will cause a non-uniform distribution. May mga areas dyan na magiging void, magiging lumpy. So ang mangyari, you will have some kind of this situation. So may kita mo na bakit yung doon malinis tapos dito napaka-weedy. Baka nag-clog yung nozzle during application. That's why this part here was infested with a lot of weeds. And to prolong the herbicide efficacy, of course, we are not relying solely on herbicide. We are integrating it with other cultural tactics such as the planting density. So we try to modify the planting density so that the canopy closure would be reached rapidly. So if we use a big planting material, normally the canopy closure would reach like 5 months only. But kung maliit yung planting material mo, then it will take even up till 8 months for the canopy closure. And also planting competitive cultivar helps. The use of mulches will also help. So this is a black polyethylene bag. So in the commercial planting in Hawaii, they use this mulch. But in Hawaii kasi, they have a machine that can install mulch in the bed. But we don't have here in the Philippines. So mulch can deprive weed seeds of the light that they need to germinate. So it's basically the mulches will um, prevent the weed from gaining foothold in the field. So similar to the pre-emergence ban, you are preventing the weeds from gaining foothold into your field. And of course, aside from cultural and chemical, we integrate it with mechanical management strategies such as the good land preparation. So before planting pineapple, we have plowing and harrowing, and also the borders of our field are maintained through mowing or brush cutter. Pwede din uh, shielded hooded spray. So itong mga perimeter, they are kept clean using can be using a brush cutter or a mower or a weed eater. And of course, regular monitoring is very important because the timely because you want to have a timely application of your herbicide. It should be on tender young weeds, not on flowering weeds. And if there are any changes, so you can go back to your uh, herbicide history or crop history to evaluate the cause of the herbicide failure. And of course, itong manual weeding or supplementary weeding, which is done to kill the escapes, to prevent the escapes or the survivors to set seeds or to destroy the difficult to control weeds. So ina-uproot yan, including the roots. So ito, the problem with manual weeding is of course, it's very laborious, but it is there to supplement and to complement the weed management strategy. So although herbicides are the major player in weed management in commercial production systems, they are now rarely used on their own. So very frequently, the combination of mechanical, cultural, physical, and chemical control or methods is proven to be most effective in controlling weeds and delaying herbicide resistance evolution. So diversity is the key. And judicious use of herbicide is particularly important to, of course, preserve the utility of the herbicide and delay the evolution of herbicide resistance. So clearly the diversified approach toward weed management has contributed to the high crop yield and sustainable pineapple production in the Philippines. So before I end, we know that weed management incurs significant production cost. And because of the limited herbicide registered for pineapple, we have limited herbicide options available. So in behalf of pineapple plantation industry, we are hoping that more chemicals will be explored and will be registered in pineapple to have more rotation, more herbicide mixtures and rotations, and to help delay herbicide resistance. So we are hoping that may mga companies dyan na willing to register their chemicals in pineapple and to increase our herbicide options. And I think that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Rio Felisalas Perez, for that insightful presentation. So this time we get the chance to ask questions to our speaker. For everyone who wants to ask question or send a comment, kindly type in our Q&A tab or our FB comment section in our CropLife FB page. So, Doc Rio, there are lots of interesting questions from our chat box and Q&A tab. So, let's start. First question is coming from Sir Dindo Donaire. His question is, how much will it cost to control weeds in a hectare of pineapple? May estimate daw po ba kayo?
Actually, I don't have the numbers, but we'll get back to you. But it's very expensive. So actually, in pineapple, we are having more cost in weed management than other pests.
Okay, so mas mahal pala talaga si weed management. Another question, Doc Rio. Doc, is there a from Sir Ramon Abadilla, Doc, is there a relation to the size of the pineapple fruit to weed control? Meron daw po bang relationship yon?
Yeah, of course. So pag weed infested yung area, you will have a smaller fruit.
Okay, so yon, very very direct yung answer ni Doc Rio doon. Another question from our chat box, Doc Rio, from Miss Amy Reyes. Hi Doc, any experience in the use of ammonium sulfate as additive for weed control? Ayan, lagi ko naririnig yan, Doc Rio eh. At least finally coming from you. Meron daw po ba tayong experience or any experience about using ammonium sulfate
In pineapple, so
in pineapple?
Parang naalala ko tuloy yung kanina introduction, yung AMS. Yun ang study ng kasama ko dati. So, so in ammonium sulfate, this is mainly used if you have a hard water. Kasi binabind niya yung calcium and magnesium na instead na dun sa herbicide mo sa AMS na. So here in pineapple herbicides, so honestly we tried AMS but to our current herbicide, but it didn't really give better control. Tsaka I don't think our water is hard enough.
Yeah.
Pag mataas yung water hardness, it could have an advantage.
Okay, Doc. Another question, Doc, from Doc Dios, from Sir Dindo Donaire. What are the stages of pineapple that are vulnerable to the infestation of weeds?
So I mentioned this before. The most vulnerable stage there is the first 6 to 8 months. This is considered the critical weed-free period. Kasi at this time, kakaplant mo lang ng pineapple, so less vigorous siya, tapos nag-develop pa lang siya ng root, starting pa lang, and you have big open space for the weeds to germinate and prosper. So ito yung pinaka importante na stage na you have to have a good weed management. Kasi after canopy closure, konti na lang yung mga open spaces, so okay na yan. Pero before canopy closure, yan, any weed infestation in that stage will incur significant production cost.
Okay. Thanks, Doc Rio. Doc Rio, pwede po na pong pa-stop share. Though we have, sa presentation po. We have, probably we can still accommodate 3 or more questions. One interesting question po is magka-relate from Dr. Joy Abit. How many times do you apply pre-emergence herbicide and how long does your pre-emergence last? Yan, kailangan din po namin malaman yan. Ayan. So, teka, may technical difficulties na po. Baka parang, yan, narinig ka na po namin.
Ano yung first question, so how many times do you apply your pre-emergence? So,
and then, how long does your pre-emergence last? So, yung magkadugsong, Doc.
Ma'am Joy, baka matali dito. Okay, so we have a pre-emergence before planting and immediately after planting. Given na yan. Tapos, during the course of the vegetative stage of pineapple, we have a herbicide that has both pre and post emergence activity.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Siguro mga 5 times. So during the 3-year cycle ha. The 3-year cycle. And the activity. So actually, depending on the herbicide, okay. So there is a pre-emergence herbicide in pineapple that can provide even up to more than 3 months of residual control. Some can only provide 1 month of control.
Okay. Up to 1 month, Doc Rio, tama ba?
May herbicide na 1 month lang. I mean, after 1 month, ayan, may bagong flashes na naman. Pero may herbicide na even 3 to 6 months.
Umaabot. So, yung mga
Umaabot.
long residual, hanggang 6 months yung may mga long residual control. Doc Rio, kadugsong po nun, how about residual effects of herbicide to the soil? Your views from Sir Randolph Vincent Regner. So, kadugsong no question ng residual natin.
Okay, I'm very interested in having a herbicide in pineapple with a long residual without injuring the crop, without sana meron, okay, kung meron man, sige, i-register natin. Pero kasi pag mataas yung residual, maganda yan kasi imagine let's say 3 months, so 3 months kang walang new emergence, walang new flashes. So ano lang, wala kang hand weeding dyan kasi malinis. But if you have a short residual herbicide, so after 1 month, meron na namang bago. So ang gusto namin is, that's why we start clean and we apply a pre-plant or pre-emergence herbicide at the start, so that meron ka ng parang siyang insurance in the first 3 months na okay. Kasi nag-apply ka ng residual herbicide, you will expect the konti lang yung mag-emerge na weeds. Kasi mahirap siya control pag meron na siya. You have to prevent the weeds from gaining foothold in your field. So paano mo siya makagawa? Ka ng residual herbicide.
Okay, Doc. Doc Rio, last 2 question po. So meron tayong pre-asked question from our participants prior to this webinar. This is from Sir John Kenneth Polo. How does herbicide resistance develop in plantation crops? Is mechanism of resistance different from resistance mechanism in cereal crops such as rice and corn? So just very common kasi sa rice and corn, Doc eh. Doc, nakamute ka po. Yan. Ayan, Doc.
Ulit nga kasi hindi ko nakinig yung last.
Okay, Doc. So, sir, from Sir John Kenneth Polo po, how does herbicide resistance develop in plantation crops? Is mechanism of resistance different from resistance mechanism in cereal crops such as rice and corn?
Okay, so how does herbicide resistance develop is the same to all crops. The repeated use of the same herbicide of the same mode of action, which favors the selection of the individuals or favor the selection of the resistant individuals. So maano lang siya sa plantation crop kasi of course we are monoculture, pinya. And we have limited herbicide option. So ito lang yung 6, tapos I don't know if lahat ba ng 6 to ginagamit, siguro lang, hindi lahat. So konti lang yung option namin. Yung second question mo na
that different daw po from rice and corn.
Okay, so hindi ako familiar sa resistance mechanism ng corn or crop, but in theory, for example sa Elysian indica, for example, it depends kasi sa anong resistant to a certain mode of action. Kasi if it's glyphosate, if your weed is resistant to glyphosate, so the resistance mechanism normally in a glyphosate resistant population is yung mutation in the EPSPS gene, or sequestration of the herbicide, or overproduction of the EPSPS. So pag glyphosate, ganyan usually ang mechanism of resistance. Pag ano naman, like for example, iba kasi yung herbicide na ginagamit sa corn, sa rice, sa pineapple. So pag mangyayari ito sa pinya, sa weeds ng pinya, like for example, Illucin indica, baka katulad ng what I said earlier about the diuron resistant population in Indonesia na coming from a pineapple plantation. Hindi man sinabi yung resistance mechanism, but usually kung diuron sa ibang weeds kasi pag diuron resistant, ang mechanism of resistance is target site mutation. So pwedeng pareho silang mutation kasi pag parehong target site normally magkapareho lang yan. Dalawa lang yaman, either target or non-target site.
Yes. So yun. Thank you, Doc Rio. I hope nasagot ni Doc Rio, Sir Kenneth, yung tanong. Doc Rio, may follow-up question po dun sa pre-emergence herbicide. From Doc Annalisa Ramirez naman po. Follow-up, even with post, how many times in a cropping season? So sa pre nasagot, mukhang interested naman sila sa post timing pa. Parang kompleto na, Doc, to. Doc, hindi na yung marinig yung audio. Ayan.
It is like until siguro mga 9 months. So 3 maximum application for the 9 months.
3 maximum application for the 9 months. Ayan, Doc Heidi, nasagot po. Last question, Doc Rio, bago po yung ating next presenter. And then meron pa po naman tayong question, Q&A answers later po at the end of this webinar. Doc Rio, another question naman po from Sir Jelmer Aguirre. Kasi nabanggit niyo po kanina na very limited. We only have 6 herbicides in our pineapple plantation. What could be the reason why we have a few or limited active ingredients registered for pineapple?
So, usually before because usually the pineapple plantation are for export. So pag export kasi, kailangan yung mga herbicides na ginagamit sa plantation, meron siyang USMRL, especially sa kasi ang pinya ginagawang juice, di ba? So yung mga countries abroad, they require na may mga USMRL. And sad to say, there are only limited herbicide with an MRL, with a USMRL. So it's kaya nga very challenging. Kasi kunyari mag-register tayo, wala naman siyang USMRL. So baka hindi makapasa kasi baka may residue na ma-detect. So hindi tayo parang we also limited because of the availability of the USMRL for herbicides in pineapple. Siguro kung may MRL lahat ng herbicide in pineapple, pwede tayong madaming i-register, pero very, 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 very few lang.
Ayan. Thanks, Doc Rio. I hope nasagot, Sir Jelmer, ang iyong katanungan. At actually, yan po yung most common question po, Doc Rio, sa ating chat box and sa ating pre-asked questions. Though we still have lots of questions in the Q&A tab, but due to limited time constraints, we will be answering those questions via email. Thank you so much, Doc Rio, and we'll see you again po after nung presentation ng ating next presenter. Thank you, Doc Rio.
Po, Doc Rio.
Yes, Sir Nover, i-announce ko lang yung winner
Yes.
kanina sa trivia questions ni Doc Rio. So, sa mga winners po, sa FB page, kindly message po yung CropLife FB Messenger for your GCash and your name. And then sa mga naman po via Zoom, kindly comment here or message po dito sa ating chat box. Sa Trivia 1 po, ang nanalo ay 4 winners. Sir Esli or Ma'am Esli ng Maverick Marikit, Aprilline Lobo, Charles Andrew. Congratulations. And sa trivia to naman po, we have 5 winners of 500 pesos GCash. We have Lisa Vergara, Isakhar Salas, Mariflor Tandang, JR Millanes, and Rafael Nutal. So kindly message po yung inyong GCash number. Sir Nover.
Yan, thank you, Janina. So, ayan, tuloy-tuloy po ang ating programa ngayong umaga sa ating webinar. So, next up is our second speaker for our banana plantation naman from Dr. Hill Magsino. So, Bo, please project yung slide natin for Dr. Hill for a quick introduction, please. So, wag po natin kakalimutan yung mga winners ay GCash numbers. Yung winners lang po, wag po lahat.
Winners lang po.
So, they will message nyo naman po sa chat box, sa Zoom. Ayan, so our next speaker for this morning is Dr. Hill L. Magsino. He is a former director of the National Crop Protection Center from the College of Agriculture and Food Science in UP Los Baños. He specializes in weed science with a minor cognate in entomology and soil science also in UP Los Baños. So he worked as a project leader in numerous weed control management in rice, corn, vegetables, and plantation crops. He is also actively involved in weed risk assessment and herbicide resistance as a DA BPI consultant and a science technical review panel in the field of biotechnology. He has received major awards in research and extension, and his latest achievement was one of the highest civilian awards, the Regional National Presidential Lingkod Bayan Award for 2020, together with his team, Karaginan in DOST PNRI. So, welcome po, Doc Hill. So, let's all welcome Dr. Hill Magsino for our banana plantations topic. Ayan, Doc Hill, would you like us to share your slide?
Ako na lang.
Okay po, Doc.
Ako lang, Nover. Okay, mabuhay at muli magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Nover, co-host na ba ako?
Yes,
Bo,
pwede
please.
na po siya mag-share.
Okay, pwede na, Janina?
Pwede na po.
Okay, thank you. Okay, muli magandang umaga sa ating lahat. So, ang ating second topic is about herbicide resistance in banana. I made some analysis and some expectations para ano ba yung sitwasyon ngayon ng weed resistance or herbicide resistance in banana plantation. So, this is my presentation, a bit of introduction, background information on banana production, economically important weeds in banana, para kilala niyo yung mga associated weeds, no, to be controlled in banana plantation, with management in banana. I made an analysis, expectations about key factors resulting to herbicide weed resistance, summary recommendations, particularly on herbicide resistant management guidelines, and of course, my references. Okay, it's good, no? It's good that Rio is presented ahead of me, so there's very important basic information already given. Kaya magbigay na lang ako ng important details doon sa palagay ko na dapat bigyan ng in-depth explanation, particularly those participants who are involved in agriculture, but not so much in weed management. So to begin with, weed interference is considered a limiting factor in banana production. Why? Because of its ability to compete for essential resources with crops, like the nutrients, water, and sunlight. So we need an adequate forms of management, but we have to know and study their communities. And the first stage, of course, is to identify the species present in the area. Lagi naman ganyan, pag may gera ka, may kalaban ka, know your enemies. So sa mga plantation, which in particular, ang topic natin ay sa weeds, so kailangan kilala natin, no, kahit papaano, yung mga kalaban nating damo in banana plantation. Okay, particularly those with significant importance. Maya-maya makikita yung mga weeds associated in banana. Our hypothesis is more diverse weed community will be less competitive, of course. About taxonomic diversity of weeds proposed as an indicator of the overall sustainability of the crop. The more diverse, it's a combination of susceptible and less competitive weeds, and the total picture of that, if you will not be able to control those weeds, of course, at the end, it will affect the quantity and the quality of banana yield in particular. About the flora or the weeds present depends on the agrosystem. So it changes depending on the diversity, composition, and abundance as response to climatic variations, crop cycle, and edaphic factors, which is primarily agricultural management practices. Of course, climatic variations, dry season, sturdy weeds, because less water, more photosynthesis, they're more sturdy, versus the areas with too much water. Too much water, maybe it could be more weeds, but the stem and the leaves are tender because of less photosynthesis, something like that. That's why in herbicide registration with FDA, it is across locations and across seasons. That is because of the effect on the agrosystem as a whole, because of the climatic variations depending on locations. The crop cycle, of course, monoculture is different from annual crops. No, with crop cycle, you planted corn, you planted vegetables. So associated weeds with corn, sometimes not sometimes, but more or less have some differences on the diversity of weeds in vegetables, in rice, sugarcane, etc. So also in crop cycle, we'll use different integrated weed management depending on the crop. And of course, with different crops, different registered herbicides as well. So edaphic factors, primarily agricultural management practices, fertilization, herbicide application, weeding, etc. So changes may be expressed through the appearance of new species within the community or disappearance of some pre-existing species or the evolution of biotypes with a greater competitive capacity and response to the selection pressure exerted by the given agricultural practices, such as herbicide pressure. So, as biological organisms, of course, nag-a-adapt, nag-react yung mga different weed species on the environment and how we control them. Nag-react sila. So, going to herbicide with resistance, yung herbicide pressure, dahil hindi natin nagagawa ng tama yung pag-apply ng herbicides na madidiscuss natin later, ito yung mangyayari. Herbicide pressure on the weeds, so magkakaroon ng weed resistance to a particular herbicide. A bit background on banana production. So the Philippines is one of the top 5 exporters of bananas in the world, with some 2.85 million metric tons exported in 2017, but a bit higher in 2018 with 9.36 million metric tons, harvested to a total hectareage of 447,889. And out of these, 52% are Cavendish, while 27% composed of Saba, and Takatan is only 10%. But according to FAO, since just recently, May 30, 2022, Philippines is still and the largest banana exporter with 2.529 million metric tons. Okay, so this is just a very, very recent information. At the high end, at the high end, not the lower end, at the high end, siyempre think positive tayo, sa high end tayo magko-compute para encouraging. a 1-hectare irrigated farm, take note, irrigated farm with 2,000 banana plants produces about 20 kilos kasi irrigated, well fertilized, no? Medyo high-end and 20 kilos per banana plant per harvest. When sold at, luckily, at 30 pesos per kilo, this means 600 pesos per bunch. Therefore, with an average of 2 to 3 harvests a year, this translates to 1.2 million per hectare per year. Kaya yung ating mga production costs, specifically kung sa weed management, bawin-bawi natin yan. Malaki ang kinikita, 1.2 million. High-end po ito. Hindi ko alam pag lower end. So, ito yung magandang information din. Davao del Norte is hailed as the banana capital of the Philippines, with many plantations run by multinationals and local producers. Take note, dalawa po, local producers and multinationals. May pagkakaiba kaya ang kanilang weed management with respect to herbicide weed resistance. Again, Davao del Norte po, yung banana capital of the Philippines. In 2019, Philippine banana exports reached $1.925 billion, a bit lower in 2020 with $1.64 billion, and January to October of 2021, around $920 million. Okay. Kasi hindi pa naman po kompleto yung year. Banana volume exports. Ganito po, no, para hindi crowded yung aking slides, I decided just to present the percentage volume exported per country. Ang top 5 po natin, Ecuador ang number 1 with 27% volume of banana exports. And this is in 2017 PSA data. Philippines is on number 2, 12%. Guatemala, 10%. Costa Rica, 10% on the 4th. Number 5 is Colombia with 8%. Belgium is 5%, and the rest, 2%. USA, Honduras, the Netherlands, and Mexico. About importing markets, saan natin dinadala? Sino yung bumibili po sa atin? Again, in percentage po yung ginawa ko para hindi voluminous yung information sa slides. Mabigyan lang po kayo ng idea. So Japan, on number 1 list with 34.6%. Nag-i-import po sa atin. China is 25.7%. Korea is 15.6%. United Arab Emirates with 8.4%. Iran with 7%. Okay. And the rest with 1.8% and lower is Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Hong Kong, Kuwait, and New Zealand. Okay, punta po tayo sa economically important weeds in banana. Okay. Number 1 is this Cynodon-dactylon. It's Bermuda grass and it is perennial. I would like to emphasize the life cycle of the weeds, whether it's annual or perennial. Malaki pong bagay ito sa efficacy of the herbicides. No? Depende if that is perennial or annual. And may mga herbicides po talaga specific for annual at may mga herbicide good for annual and perennials. Dapat alam din po natin yon to make our weed control management more effective. So number 1, the list is Cynodon-dactylon, Bermuda grass, it's perennial. Second is Eleusin indica. Sabi nga ni Rio kanina, ito yung problematic weeds in pineapple. So this is Eleusin indica, goosegrass or whitegrass. This is annual. Rotfolio conchinchonensis, H-grass, annual. Echinoclova colonna, barnyard grass, annual. Bracharia distachya, armgrass millet, perennial. Ipomea triolova, Trilobs morning glory, perennial. Ageratum conisoides, billy goatweed, annual. Triomia ritidosperma, spindle top, annual. Amaranthus spinosus, spiny amaranth, annual. Renthema portulacastrum, horse parsley, annual. Ito po yung kanyang kamag-anak, Portulaca oleracea, common parsley, annual. and Cyperus rotundus, purple nutseeds, perennial. Last but not the least, Cyperus kalinga, spike seeds, perennial. So those are important weeds associated in banana. There might be some other weeds, no? Depende sa location, depende sa weed practices, depende sa tilling practices, etc. But those I presented, yung mga major weeds associated or competed with banana. With management in banana, let's analyze first before we go to some specific with management. Okay, medyo tagilid nyo lang po yung ulo nyo para lang po kasi magkasya sa slides. Ito po yan. Ito yung ating analysis dito. Yung BBCH, that's the code for the growth stages of banana. And then the phase and the stage. Gusto kong magbigay ng importante dito sa slide na to kasi malaking bagay ang information na ito for the stewardship program ng ating with management. So for BBCH 12, for seedling, there is no code. But for leaf development, 12/13, yan po yung international code. Sucker formation is 21 to 23. 35 is pseudostem elongation. 41, 45 is leaf development of the sucker. 50 is emergence of inflorescence. 60/63 is flowering. 70 is development of the fruit, and 80 is ripening of the fruit. Anong analysis nito? Anong essential nito? First, kailangan in weed management, tingnan natin ano yung growth cycle or life cycle ng ating crop. And in particular, ito po yung banana. So sa stage, vegetative growth stages is 6 months in banana. And another 6 months, 3 months is 3 months of the reproductive stages, okay, and 3 months for the ripening of maturity of the fruit or ripening of the fruit. 3 months and 3 months for reproductive stages. Sa madalas salita po, 6 months for vegetative growth stages, and the reproductive stages is also 6 months. But then hinati po sa dalawa, 3 months doon sa flowering and 3 months for maturity and fruit ripening. Now, kagaya po ng ating important information sa weed control management, okay, ang banana is susceptible to weed competition sa 30% of its life cycle. So ang life cycle ng banana is 12 months. Ano po yung 30% ng 12 months? That's around 3.6 months. O sabihin na natin for easier discussion, 4 months, yung sensitiveness to weed competition, which is the vegetative growth stages. Now, kasi yung vegetative growth stages, mahina pa po dyan yung banana, smaller plant, and then wala pang masyadong tiller or sucker, and then wala pang closing canopy, no? Yung closing canopy sa reproductive stages yan. I'm emphasizing on vegetative growth stages, yung first 4 months. Dito po dapat natin i-apply those limited number of herbicide registered in banana. The pre-emergent herbicide, the contact and systemic post-emergent herbicides, depende kung ano yung weeds na lalabas during the vegetative growth stages. But luckily enough, we have few herbicides registered in banana that we can work on. At ang maganda po nito, better sa slides, makikita nyo, they belong to different mode of action. So that's the beauty of it. So meaning, ito pong dahil sa banana, no, kasi hectareage of banana, talagang kailangan natin ng integrated weed management, but then looking on the labor and the expense, no, high cost of manual weeding, talagang pupunta tayo sa herbicide, okay, for easy control and more economical, and of course para makontrol agad yung damo. But then vegetative growth stages, okay, yung first 4 months, doon po natin ilalagay yung ating weed management. Okay. Kung herbicides pong ilalagay natin dito, okay, crucial siya sa vegetative growth stages. And my suggestion is sa reproductive stages, dahil may closing canopy na, malaki na po yung banana, may shade na. Mamaya makita niyo po sa ating mga later slides, ano yung important, no? Important weed management or integrated weed management na pwede natin ilagay sa reproductive stages. For me, yung reproductive stages, pwedeng wala ng herbicide yan. Kasi ang ating pong issue dito, of course, yung registered herbicide sa banana, siyempre may mga MRI yan, may residue studies na yan. And for security purposes lang, para ma-avoid yung food residue, pagdating sa reproductive stages, I suggest non-herbicide na yung gagamitin yung weed control sa reproductive stages. Anyway, closing canopy na yan. Mamaya may clear picture tayo dyan para ma-appreciate nyo yung sinasabi ko. So kung herbicide, dito po tayo mag-concentrate sa vegetative growth stages, but then ipoprogram po natin yon, no? Ipoprogram natin yung ating mga herbicides depende sa weed of importance dito sa banana. So dito po yon, no? Dito natin, whether integrated weed management or herbicides, dito natin siya ilalagay sa first 4 months kasi nandito yung critical period of competition. Dito nangangailangan ng banana ng tulong to remove the weeds, or at least kung may konting weeds, nasa threshold level na hindi siya disruptive sa economical threshold ng banana pagdating sa yield. So again, yung first 4 months, concentrate tayo sa weed control management dito sa banana, which is particularly yung vegetative growth stages. Ganyan po yung pananaw na nakikita natin kung with respect to weed management in banana. Ayan po yan. So weed management consists of removing the weeds that compete with banana plant, of course. Controlling weeds. Important in the first few months after planting, as I have said, banana plants are small, little shade, and they are still susceptible to competition yung first 4 months. So dyan po tayo magfo-focus ng ating weed management. Not all throughout of the banana. Para mabawasan po din natin yung selection pressure of using herbicide. So, unahin natin ang chemical control, herbicides. The pre-emergent herbicides or weed preventers. Why? This is a form of chemical weed control which prevents germinated weed seedlings from becoming established. Kaya po siya pre-emergent. And the pre-emergent weed killers require water, kagaya sinabi ni Rio kanina, to activate them and carry the chemical down to the root system of newly sprouted weeds. Alam naman natin, nasa top 1 to 2 inches yung mga weed seeds. Kaya kung pre-emergent weed killers or herbicides ang gagamitin natin, it's not enough just to apply it on top of the soil. So you need an assistance, irrigation or rainfall para yung water ay para yung ma-dissolve din yung herbicides sa soil, ma-activate, and of course ma-solubilize para ma-absorb siya ng root, initiating roots and initiating coleoptile. Hindi po yung seed ang pinapatay ng pre-emergent herbicide. Ang pinapatay niya is yung nag-germinate na seeds. No? Meron na po siyang initial root and initial coleoptile. Yun po yung sensitive portion ng seedling, with seedlings na very sensitive sa herbicide treatment using pre-emergent herbicide. So water is very, very important. Or it could be in terms of artificial irrigation, it could be normal through rainfall. And in Mindanao, tingin ko naman, no, hindi masyadong problema kasi maganda yung sunlight sa umaga, pagdating ng afternoon, umuulan, kaya po napakaganda talaga ng mga crops sa Mindanao. Okay. Post-emergent herbicides either attack the foliage of emerged weeds or flow systematically to the roots of the weed. So pwedeng sa foliage at yung aagos sa root system, kung maru-root absorb siya, so complementary siya, so more effective. Useful in banana areas that have literally been taken over the weeds. Yan talaga yung mga post-emergence. But caution, prevent drift or contact with non-target plants, which is banana. So kalimitan sa mga post-emergence, no, either contact or systemic, they are non-selective. type of post-emergent weed killers. Ito na yun, systemics. Most useful on perennial weeds. Take note, pag perennial weeds, mas magaling ang systemics kasi pag spray natin sa foliage, it will go downward to the root system. Pinapatay din po yung root system, kaya yung residual action niya ay mas matagal. Okay, they absorb directly into the plant and move throughout for the maximum killing action. May mga example po tayo mamaya. So destroy the entire plant and the volumes needed are lower, maximum of 100 liters per hectare kasi systemic. Basta magkaroon po ng magandang foliage coverage, bahala na po yung herbicide na ma-absorb, mag-penetrate, mag-translocate. Yan. Recommended for established plantations. Yung mga systemic sa mga established plantations, this is recommended. How about the contact herbicide? Kills the exposed part of the plant and are used on annuals and smaller weeds. Okay, why contact annuals and smaller weeds? Kasi alam naman natin pag annuals, no, yung foliage pag pinatay mo, mamamatay na naman yung mga annual weeds and the smaller weeds. Okay, pero pag perennial, kinamit mo yung contact, papatay mo lang yung foliage, root system is still alive, so mabilis yung recovery of the weeds kung contact ang gagamitin mo sa perennial. So take note of that. In the majority of the weeds, the death of the foliage is enough to kill the entire plant. Yan yung contact. Only destroys the plant's aerial parts that comes in contact with the product, as I've said, eliminates annual plants since root system is not affected and perennial weeds will grow back. Yan yung pagdating sa perennial. Volume needed is high, 200 to 400. Best use at the beginning of the production cycle. Yung contact daw, mga contact herbicides, mas maganda gamitin yan sa mga early part of the production system. Explain ko uli mamaya yan. Bakit higher yung volume pag contact? Because contact siya, dapat maganda talaga yung coverage of the foliage. So more volume, more coverage. But then depende sa nozzle, depende sa droplet size, depende pa rin yan sa pressure that you will be using. Maraming depende. So, but generally, you need high volume pagdating sa contact herbicide. What about the herbicide application? Herbicide should be applied in a fine layer when the climatic conditions are favorable and before the weeds have started producing seeds. So, may timing of application talaga to. At of course, dapat maganda yung climate natin. Hindi pag-spray, uulan agad, lalo kung post-emergence, mawawas away lang, no? Sa foliage yung ating mga herbicide. Kahit pa sabihin mo may rain fastness yan, I don't think pag 30 minutes o after application mag-spray ka, may hirapan pa rin yung herbicide to be absorbed. And sinabi natin, weeds have started producing seeds. Ito yung importante, no? That's why we have to educate, we have to train the farmers. Don't allow the seeds to set seeds. Now, kung whether that is herb resistant or not, kasi kung palagi natin i-allow na mag-mature yung seed, mag-seed set, sinabi nga ni Rio kanina, forever yung iyong pagdadamo. So parang deposito ka ng deposito ng seed sa soil seed bank, so forever na talaga. So how much more kung resistant weeds yan? Okay, ang mundo mo lagi na lang sa pagtatanggal ng resistant weeds sa banana. So one practical way of with management, no, yung proactive nito, don't allow the seeds to set seeds. Kaya pag nag-flower na, konting sipag lang, kuha ng tao, tanggalin yung flower para hindi mag-seed set. So in the future, paunti ng paunti yung weeds na kakalabanin natin. Equipment must be in good condition and calibrated. So this is one thing. Hindi nagli-leak yung iyong sprayer, so it should not be in good condition. Yung calibration, that's another long topic. But sa calibration, the essence of calibration, you are calibrating your equipment, you are calibrating the one who will spray, okay, and you are also calibrating the area, the topography of the area. Once you change the area, you need new calibration. We change your equipment, you change the nozzle, you need another calibration. Pag iba po yung mag-i-spray, you have to calibrate another person. Yung calibration is equivalent to proper pesticide calculation. So magkakampi po yan. If not calibrated, pawindang-windang yung pesticide calculation mo, it could be overdose or underdose. Pero kung calibrated, mako-compute mo properly yung particular herbicides that you needed. But then, practical lang tayo, doon naman sa label ng mga herbicides, sinasabi naman doon yung amount of the herbicide to be diluted per 16 liters of water. Pero bago yung ginawa, bago naisip yon sa research, sa efficacy trial, efficacy period, nagkaroon po ng calibration yung mga researchers. Kaya they come up with such kind of recommendation. Never na mawawala yung calibration. It's important to be precise to avoid spraying the plants. So, ginagawa natin, kung maliit pa yung banana, meron tayong nozzle shield, no? Yung triangular, para yung pag-spray mo, diretso ka doon sa damo. Walang drip going to non-target plants. Now, herbicide application, about drop size can have effect on several parameters. Okay, yung drop size, large drops reduce drift and evaporation. That's true. Small drops have better penetration, but you have to be careful with drifts. The type of nozzle, marami pong influence ang type of nozzle. It affect the spray angle, the droplet spectrum, the drop size, drip, operating pressure, and type of herbicide. Kaya pag ako nagle-lecture talaga, yung type of nozzle pa lang, meron malaking influence sa efficacy of the herbicide. Pag hindi tama po ang lahat, pag may misuse, misapplication tayo, affected yung efficacy of the herbicide, that may result to resistance. Hindi lang yan sa mga selection pressure, okay, kundi pag misapply tayo palagi, contributory po yan sa weed resistance. Now, I would like you to notice itong picture. Ni-request ko sa gumawa ng ating PowerPoint na ilagay itong picture na ito kasi may essential meaning ito. This is local producers. Mamaya makikita nyo yung sample pictures namin sa multinationals, no? Sa mga banana plantation multinationals. Kung titignan nyo sa local producers, okay, yung nag-spray, anong nakita nyo? Number one, wala siyang protection, walang PPEs. Second, ang tatanda na ng damo, yung mga ini-spray niya. Okay, nandyan yung nakikita natin, may ageratum, may kinokloa, may mga sages. Okay, so may amaranthus, okay, may eleusin, marami. Pero kung titignan niyo, maganda naman yung kanyang spacing at close-in canopy na yan. Pero take note, tingnan niyo po yung weed composition, napakarami pa rin. Anong problema rito? So matatakel po natin yan. Pero I would like you to focus on this picture. Yung nakikita ninyo, no? Yung nag-spray, and then yung composition ng weeds. Pero closing canopy na, take note, closing canopy na yan. Pero tingnan nyo, napakarami pa rin damo. Sabi ko kanina, pag closing canopy, may shade na. So, kakunti na po yung mag-germinate. Kasi ang damo, tandaan nyo po, ang damo, with water, with sunlight, equals with germination. Pero ito, shaded na eh. Pero tingnan nyo po yung ilalim. Isang katutok pa yung damo. Okay. So marami pong problema rito. Tama po ba yung weed control management na ginagawa niya, etc. So, babalikan po natin mamaya yung discussion dito. Pero tingnan nyo lang po yung situation. Okay. Ito yung example po, no? Kaya yung palang nozzle pa lang, marami na yung, makikita nyo na yung differences ng performance ng herbicide. So, assuming yung spray angle ng nozzle is 110 degrees, both 110, no? 110 and 110 doon sa kabila. The drop size is medium. The other one, ang large size niya is bigger, yung drop size. And drift, of course, is low, very low doon sa large size. Talagang wala masyadong drift yan. Kasi kung fine yung drop size, drift susceptible yan. Recommended pressure is 2 to 4 bar. The other one is 1.5 to 3. At least wala masyadong diferensya. Yung 1.5 to 3, nasa loob yung 2 to 4 bar. Yung contact herbicide, excellent yung performance niya. Okay. Pero sa kabila, good na lang. A systemic, both excellent. Excellent siya dito sa drop size is medium, excellent pa rin siya sa large drop size. Pero yung contact, doon sa low, excellent siya. Pero pag large na yung drop size, nagiging good na yung performance ng contact herbicide. Kasi sa contact herbicide, dapat talaga medyo moderate lang yung drop size, medyo fine ang kailangan para pagdapo po niyan sa leaf foliage, maganda yung coverage for efficient absorption and penetration. Okay, sa systemic, okay lang yan. Whether medium or large, excellent pa rin. Ang mahalaga, maganda yung coverage, and then alam naman natin, kahit konti nga lang yung coverage sa systemic, papasok na siya sa loob. Eh, how much more kung medium and large yung drop size, basang-basa talaga siya. So you see, yung difference ng drop size, medium to large. Pag systemic, wala tayong problema. Pag contact, may problema ka na. Nagiging satisfactory na lang yung weed control if you're using contact herbicide. Drop size pa lang yung pinag-uusapan natin. This is one good example. No? Kaya holistic yung approach natin. Tinitingnan natin lahat na contributory or effective weed management using herbicide. Selective chemical control, this is very important. The operator can target which plant to remove or kill and which to maintain. For example, maintaining cover crop. Dahil yung cover crop provides services such as reducing erosion and leaching, limit the development of weeds that may compete with the banana plants or be host to pests and pathogens. So, sa aking analysis, itong selective chemical weeding, pwede mong gawin to doon sa reproductive stages, yung last 6 months sa reproductive. Yung selective chemical. Mamaya, sabihin ko sa inyo kung bakit ganun ang aking analysis. So, we have another weed management, manual and mechanical weeding, mulching, and girdling. Yung girdling, yan yung ring weeding, no? Kung nasaan, lalo yung local producers, inaalis lang po nila yung damo 1 meter doon sa diameter ng puno para malesen yung weed competition. Pinababayaan na lang nila yung weeds doon sa palibot or in-spray man nila ng herbicide yun. So depende, no? Yung mulching is very important component sa banana. Okay, makikita nyo mamaya why. Yung selective weeding plus mulching, I suggest magandang gawin yan sa reproductive stages. Expectations, the key factors resulting to herbicide resistance in banana plantation. Most of these ay nabanggit na ni Dr. Rio kanina at nababanggit ko na rin doon sa mga previous presentation. Number 1, key factors resulting to herbicide resistance, herbicide misuse, the weed growth stage, and the proper equipment. Yung proper equipment, yan na nga yung misapplication because of improper equipment. The nozzle type alone, the pressure that you are using. Okay, herbicide misuse, yung weed growth. Pakatandaan natin. Anda mo, mahirap kontrolin yan. Okay, pag matigas na ang ulo niyan. Sabihin, pag matibay na siya. Ibig sabihin, kontrolin natin ang damo sa kanyang weakest link. Dapat yan yung pinaka-practical approach na pwede nating magawa. Yung weed growth stage. So meaning, ano yung weakest link niya? Sa early vegetation. Okay, sa seedling stage to early vegetation. Okay, yung foliage niya, less waxy. Tender yung dahon. Even the stem. Mag-a-absorb pa rin ng herbicide yun. Hindi katulad pag matanda na. Okay? Yung wax niya makapal na. Okay? Tapos, siyempre, kung that's one factor, no? And then, definitely, pati yung stem niya matigas na, glossy na. So, hindi na rin mag-a-absorb ng herbicide yun. Pero kung bata pa, medyo tender pa rin yung stem, it can still absorb herbicide. Kaya mabilis, no? Kaya yung herbicide misuse, you know, I don't know, siguro dito pwede mag-focus yung CropLife and other companies. Tingin ko lang sa aking analysis based on the information that I got, walang problema sa banana plantation sa multinationals. They know what they're doing. Sabihin ko rin mamaya kung bakit. ang ating focus for herbicide resistance, kinakabahan ako sa mga local producers. Okay? And based on our information na i-acknowledge ko mamaya, sa mga local producers, okay, they usually use glyphosate kasi it's cheaper, broad spectrum weed control, and yung safety ng paggamit, nandun na lahat sa glyphosate. So, generally, glyphosate ang ginagamit ng mga local producers. Kung may herbicide misuse dyan, doon nakakaba na may magkaroon ng potential weed resistance. And I don't think pagdating sa mga banana multinationals. So yun yung titingnan. Kaya tingnan nyo yung local producers, yung picture na pinakita ko sa inyo kanina. Bakit namumroblema siya palagi sa damo? So kulang sa stewardship. So ang herbicide misuse, okay, ang kailangan nito, nasabi ko na nga, siguro dito pwedeng tumulong yung CropLife, yung HROC, and other companies, no? I-educate, i-train natin yung mga farmers. Dito papasok na naman yung behavior, attitude ng farmer. Tsagain natin sila. Kasi pag kulang sa education, kulang sa training, pawardi-wardi lang yung kanilang application. Basta akala niya, mag-spray lang ako ng ganitong herbicide, okay na yan. Hindi nila ini-evaluate. Wala silang monitoring evaluation. What happened next? Yung ba, tama ba yung herbicide na ginamit niya? Tama ba yung susceptible ba yung weeds nung nag-spray siya, and so forth. So, dito papasok yung ating information campaign. Pwedeng, medyo allow na yung face-to-face, mas maganda. But then meron tayong mga another media materials naman, prints, etc. para tumulong. Tulungan natin yung mga local producers, and of course, para mabawasan yung weed resistance, let's educate them. No? Let's educate them. So, yun yung nakikita, educate and train those people. Pangalawa, yung farmers are not aware about weed resistance development. Iyan, hindi rin masyadong aware dito yung mga local producers na. Hindi naman lahat, no? Pero kung titingnan natin yung mga local farmers planting banana, unaware sila dito, kaya glyphosate lang yung ginagamit nila. So, meron silang persistent use of the single mode of action, which is yung glyphosate. And then the rate and timing of application and type of herbicides, questionably din yan. So, kung basahin man nila yung label, usually ang tinitingnan lang nila yung dosage. But the timing, hindi nila masyadong tinitingnan yon. Okay. So, yun ang problema natin. With herbicide resistant management guidelines. Okay, ito yung guidelines natin. Apply integrated with management principles. Marami na tayong nasabi dyan. Follow and understand the label recommendation. Hindi ko sinabing follow the label recommendation. Follow and understand the label recommendation. Kasi doon sa label, hindi lang naman yung frequency, hindi lang naman yung amount or dosage ang nakalagay doon. Pati yung timing, no? Deep stages or several days after planting, transplanting, etc. Nandun din yun. Huwag tayong mawawala doon sa window of application kasi based on research, doon natin nakikita yung weakest link ng damo. Nandun sa window na yon. Okay? At sa banana, kung kukunin natin yung aming principle na 30% of the life cycle don't count, maglalagay ng different IWM. So, huwag natin kalilimutan yon. Ituro din natin yon kung sino man yung nangangailangan. Of course, so understand the herbicide mode of action, medyo mahirap-hirap ituro to, but then yung mahirap, pag lagi mo sinasabi with your printing materials, etc. So, matutunan din ito ng mga local producers or ng farmer. Tsagain lang natin sila to educate and train them. Then apply rotation of herbicide mode of action. Ito yung lagi natin sinasabi para yung talagang ma-delay, at least ma-delay yung or ma-prevent yung weed resistance. Yung monitoring and evaluation, ito yung huwag nating kalilimutan. Okay, to be able to know the success is to be able to measure it. So may monitoring and evaluation natin tayo dito. So monitoring and evaluation objectively to be supported by stakeholders in order to be effective, reliable, and credible. Okay, yung banana plantation multinationals, meron silang established monitoring and evaluation. But what about the farmers, the local producers? Tingin nyo ba nag-evaluate sila after herbicide application or whatever with management ang ginagawa nila? Maybe some, no, some. Makikita mo yung mga vlogger, may sinasabi sila tungkol dyan, pero bitin pa rin yung information. So, kailangan ituro natin sa farmer, make it a habit to monitor and evaluate. Mahirap nilang gawin yan. Sasabihin nila, additional timing yan, etc. Pero, tsagay lang natin. Yun yung purpose ng product is stewardship. Okay, so, yan. Alam kong mahirap, pero mahirap, nandiyan yung success natin. Okay, herbicide use in banana. Okay. So, ito po yung mga registered at mga herbicide na ginagamit sa banana. Isi-simplify ko lang. So, nag-process tayo sa grouping. Group 9, this is amino acid synthesis inhibitor. Maraming amino acid synthesis inhibitor na mode of action. Pero ito yung sa group 9, aromatic. Yung ibang amino acid synthesis inhibitor, branch chain yon na amino acid inhibitor. Sa group 9, glyphosate is the aromatic one. So, glyphosate is post-emergent, non-selective, and systemic. Okay. Kill grass, broadleaves, and some sages. I said some sages. Kasi magaling talaga siya sa grasses and the broadleaves. Over-the-top post-emergent application. Yung mechanism of action niya disrupts the ischemic acid pathway through inhibition of EPS-P synthase that leads to reduction in aromatic amino acids that are vital to protein synthesis and plant growth. Kasi sa photosynthesis, no, kailangan niya magko-convert siya ng magde-develop siya ng amino acids. And from that amino acids, magkakaroon ng branch of protein. Yun ang ginagamit for growth and development. Yun po yung ini-inhibit ng glyphosate. Glufosinate ammonium, it's group 10. So kung may group 9 tayo, at least meron tayong group 10, a different mode of action, which is inhibiting the glutamine synthetase, the GS. This is post-emergent, non-selective, and contact. The other one, glyphosate, post-emergent, non-selective, systemic. This one is post-emergent, non-selective, contact. Kaya sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, yung mga annuals and perennials, mga perennials, better to use systemic type, while doon sa mga annuals, okay na yung contact. And then kills grasses, broadleaves, and sedges, over-the-top post-emergent application. Inhibition of the enzyme causes a buildup of phytotoxic ammonia in plants which disrupts the cell membrane. Ito naman po yung mga glufosinate ammonium on how they kill the weeds or the plant. Fluoxapop-P-butyl, okay, third on the list. Nasa ano ko lang, hindi po to based on priority. Yan lang po yung medyo nagawa natin. So fluoxapop-P-butyl, group 1 to. Acetyl-CoA carboxylase inhibitor. They are fatty acid synthesis yung mode of action niya. Site of action is acetyl-CoA carboxylase inhibitor. It is post-emergent, selective, systemic herbicide. Kill grass, weeds, and various broadleaf crops. Ito ang kaganda sa fluoxapop-butyl, no, sa mga fluoxapop, is strictly grass killer. Kaya they are really registered in many broadleaf crops. Well, malamig po siya sa mga broadleaf crops, pero mabangis po siya sa mga grasses. Yan po yung kagandahan naman. Kaya kung sa banana, yung sa susceptible stage, yung early stages ng banana, kung mga grasses naman ang majority doon, okay, you can use group 1, the fluoxapop-P-butyl, kasi grasses lang yung papatayin natin. But then, don't forget, it should be on the weakest link. Nandun siya sa susceptible stages ng mga grasses. So, paano pumapatay? The acid is transported primarily in the phloem and accumulates in the meristem where it disrupts the synthesis of lipids in susceptible species. Alam naman natin yung lipids, no? Yung synthesis of lipids is a component of the cell membrane. Pag dinisrupt mo yung synthesis ng lipids, walang cell membrane na matatag na mabubuo. Kung walang cell membrane, walang tissues, walang halaman. So papatayin mo. Walang yung damo. Kasi wala na siyang cell membrane or cell wall. Indasiflam. Okay. Ang indasiflam is group 29, inhibiting biosynthesis of cellulose, the main component of the cell walls. So again, yung cellulose, yung cell wall, pag sinira mo yan, walang mabubuong tissues, etc. So patay yung halaman. Now, ang ganda sa indasiflam is a pre-emergent herbicide for annual grass and broadleaf weeds. Okay. yun yung sila, annual grass and broadleaf weeds. But I think as in the CPLAM as pre-emergent, pwede rin niya makover dito yung mga perennial seedlings kasi pre-emergent naman siya. Long-lasting residual compound. Ito yung kagandahan sa industry plan. No? Long-lasting residual compound that provides extended weed prevention. Yun ang gusto natin. Medyo mahaba yung kanyang residual action. Kaya doon sa vegetative stage, okay, before or after planting, nag-apply tayo. Kung mahaba, kung ma-extend siya sa 3 to 4 months, okay, napakaganda. Isa lang ang ginamit mong herbicide. Industry plan lang. So once applied, it can sit on the soil surface for some time with no degradation from sunlight. Hindi siya nadidegrade ng sunlight. So kahit may sunlight, hindi mapabawasan, hindi ma-deactivate yung kanyang herbicidal potential. So while waiting on rainfall for activation. So rainfall and water, again, is crucial pag gumamit tayo ng mga pre-emergent herbicide. So maganda sa mga, may mga, bukod sa rainfall, may mga irrigation, yung multinational banana plantation. Pero yung mga local farmers or local producers, yan, usually nagde-depend sila sa rainfall sa Mindanao. Okay. So yan no, yan yung mga 4 herbicide, no, limited herbicide to address with management in banana. Now, I have 1 potential herbicides in banana. 3 po sana ito. Siyempre, nagpapaalam po tayo doon sa company kung i-allow niya ako na may present yung AI ng herbicide. Luckily enough, may pumayag pong isa. And then, naintindihan ko kung bakit ayaw pa po ng iba na may present ko yung tinest naming herbicide sa banana. That understandable, no? Ito po yung kaisa-isang ipipresent ko na potential, yung flumioxazine. It's a group 14. It's good. Another group or another mode of action, group 14. Ito po yung PPO, inhibition of protopyrogen oxidase, which inhibits the chlorophyll synthesis. So kung walang chlorophyll, walang green pigment, walang photosynthesis, mamamatay po yung damo or halaman kasi walang food manufacturing or food production. Ang food production, nagde-depend po yan sa component ng chlorophyll. Of course, sunlight, etc. So pre-emergent, ang kagandahan po dito sa flumioxazine is a pre-emergent to early post broad spectrum contact herbicide. It's a contact herbicide, pero meron po siyang pre-emergent activity, and then kung naligtangan yung pre-emergent activity, pero early post, no, mga up to 14 to early to mid post, pwede po yan. 14 to 21, pwede pong post-emergent pa rin siya. Kaya ang kagandahan po dito, dual action. Pre-emergent activity, and then meron pa siyang post-emergent activity. So maganda rito, hatiin nyo sa gitna. Kunin nyo yung early post para kung inallow nyo na yung weeds, no, to grow, nakita nyo na yung mga damo na nandun, and fortunate enough kung yan ay mga annual weeds, kasi contact siya. So hatiin nyo, punta kayo sa early post. So napatay nyo na yung post-emergent weeds, no? Yan, yung nag-emerge sa weeds, napatay nyo na. And then, dahil early post ka, mahusay pa rin yung kanyang pre-emergent activity. Meaning, pag nag-spray ka as post-emergent, wala pa rin mag-germinate, no? From the seed because of the pre-emergent activity. So this is a good herbicide. Okay, based on its mode of action and based on sa timing of application, based on the flexibility, no, as pre-emergent and post-emergent. Active on germinating seedlings with long residual action as well. Causes interference and halts the plant's production of the chlorophyll. Treated plants will respond quickly to the product and weeds rapidly decompose. Now, long residual action. Talagang hindi natin masisisi, no, yung mga companies to develop more herbicide din sa banana, just like in pineapple. Kasi yung mga pre-emergent herbicide na mayroong long residual action, of course, while doing the bioefficacy, pinukuha na rin natin yung residue using SPRT. Ang tinitingnan natin kasi pag long residual action, siyempre, then kung some way, somehow, kung laging malakas ang rainfall or may waterlog, yung possibility ng leaching is very high. And then kung magkakaroon ng root absorption yung banana, may possibility dahil long residual action, okay, may potential for food residue. Just like in pineapple. Maraming akong pwedeng sabihin sa inyo na herbicide to kill the weeds associated sa banana. But ang tanong, ang crucial dito, yung residue sa banana. Alam naman natin yung importing countries, sensitive sila sa MRL. Meron silang established MRL. Kaya kung anong registered herbicide mo, yan lang yung gagamitin mo kasi may MRL yan, na record of MRL, na pwede nilang kainin. Otherwise, yung banana mo, tatapon lang nila sa Pacific Ocean. Kung malapit-lapit sa West Philippine Sea, kung malapit pa. So merong taga, kasi pag nag-i-import, dadalhin yan, before reaching the destination, meron po silang chemist na nagre-residue analysis na. Bago dumating sa point of destination, alam na nila na wala itong food residue, safe to eat, so tatanggapin yan sa port of destination. Kaya hindi basta-basta po ang nagpaparegister ng herbicide, lalo na sa mga mahigpit sa MRL like pineapple and banana. Pero yung 4 herbicides na sinabi ko sa inyo, they were registered in banana, kaya kita natin na may allowable MRL yon. Ito pong promioxacin, yan, isa pong potential herbicide nito, and I know, pinag-aralan na rin nila dito yung residue action nito para wala pong food residue pala, I mean. So, yan yun, yan yung reason. Unlike sa rice, sa corn, vegetables, there are a lot. Kasi hindi tayo masyadong sensitive sa residue. Although, during the registration with the PA, hinihingi naman nila talaga yung residue profile. Kaya pag na-registered, safe naman yan sa rice, corn, vegetables, and other crops. Basta na-registered, kompleto na yan. Kompleto yan. Tox, residue, bio-F, physicochemical, kompleto yan bago ma-register ng FPA. Kaya safe yung mga herbicide na ginagamit natin. So, one thing, doon sa mga local producers, I don't know kung sila ay contact growers sa mga multinationals, I think they are being guided. Anong herbicide na gagamitin mo para walang food residue. Pero the rest of the local producers, kung gumagamit pa sila ng ibang herbicide na hindi registered naman sa banana just to control weeds, that is another problem that we have. Ito na po yung mga supplementary photos natin. Okay. Ito po yung May 31, kaya absent po ako sa HROC meeting. May kasama po akong isang HROC member nyo na kasama ko sa trip. May 31, kaya absent po kami sa meeting natin. Okay. Nandito po kami sa Bukidnon, sa Mindanao. So nagbisita po kami ng mga multinational banana plantation. So tingnan ninyo, okay, yung kanilang reproductive stage, yung fruiting stage. Okay. Meron ng closing canopy, shaded. Okay. And ano yung napupunan ninyo? Ano yung napupunan nyo? Bakit napakalinis, walang masyadong damo? Okay. Aside from maganda yung kanilang vegetative weed management, ito reproductive na. Okay. Yung deleafing nila, yung deleafing. Okay. Nagtatanggal po sila ng mga discolorated dahon, whether it's due to nutrition or diseases or whatever symptoms. Dinidelete po nila yung mga unhealthy non-functional leaves. Then ginagawa po nilang mulch. Kaya yung mulching, napakaganda po nito sa banana. Kung wala kayong cover crops, itong mulch, parang cover crops na rin ito. Kasi kinocoveran po yung soil from sunlight. No? Kaya kung basa man yan, pero kung less sunlight, less weed germination. Ay yung mulching na iniiwan nila dito, kinakalat nila, that's one integrated weed management sa banana plantation that they are using. But I'm speaking of the multinational banana plantation. Okay, so yan, may mga sariwang dahon pa, dinilift nila, and then kinalat nila. Hanggang sa, ang isa pang indirect effect, no, benefits ng deleafing na nagiging mulch, okay, pag na-decay yan, source of organic matter yan, source of nitrogen yan sa banana. At kung well-established organic soil na yan, okay, malaking kabawasan yan sa granular fertilization because of continuous deleafing, continuous mulching, continuous presence of organic matter. Yan. Okay, so this one, kung makikita nyo, itong nasa right side ko, kita nyo kahit yung nasa road, no? Napakalinis. Bukod sa loob, pati yung paligid malinis. Itong damo nakita nyo sa harapan, sa roadside kasi yan. Okay, so nasa labas po ako ng bakod, kumukuha po ako ng picture. So ini-analyze ko lang ho yung situation. And then dito sa left side sa picture, kung makikita po niyo, maraming idios in indica, pero nasa labas. Nasa labas, wala sa loob. Why? Kasi yun po yung portion na naiinitan. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, moisture or water plus sunlight, okay, may mga damong sisibol. Now, ang hindi ko lang gusto rito sa picture na ito, na doon sa multinationals, dapat hindi nila inalaw na mag-produce pa yung eleusin ng flower at saka ng seed. Dapat ito hinand-pulling na lang or grab or hoeing or any means, mechanical or manual. Dapat yung mga nasa border rows na yan, whether kaputse, sana kung hindi resistant yan, no? Sana pinupull out na yan. Hindi pa babaya kasi through wind, ito mga seeds ng eleusin, okay, napakaraming seeds produced per plant. So pupunta pa rin yan sa loob through wind, irrigation, by birds, by man, tatapakan yan, bulaklak, naglakad sa loob, bitbit niya yung weed seeds. So dapat tinatanggal yan. Okay, so ito po yung aking kasama, yung inyong masipag na IRWAC and HWAC member ng CropLife from Aldis, si Manolo Basingan Jr. Okay, thank you very much to Manolo for his kind assistance sa akin na maikot po namin itong banana plantation. I'm so glad that before my presentation, nakaikot po ako sa banana plantations. At least nakapag-analyze ako kung gaano kaganda yung weed management, no, ng multinationals. Why? First, yung kanilang supervisor is FPA license, yung Certified Pesticide Applicator, CPA. Ang PMCP-FI, wherein currently I am the president, okay, nagkakandak ko kami in partnership with FPA, nagkakandak ko kami ng training para mabigyan ng supervisors nyo or yung mga tao nyo gumagalaw dyan sa loob ng plantation, ma-license. No? Tinitraining po namin sila. Merong simpleng exam. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, ang multinational banana plantations, meron silang accredited professional researcher, license ng FPA. So, they know what they're doing. Okay? And of course, kung magandang weed management nila, we know na PP is number 1 yan sa protection sa kanila as part of the stewardship program. Yung local producers, kaya nga sabi nga sa inyo, tingnan nyo ang pagkakaiba, yung picture ng local producers ka na, walang PPEs, tapos napakadamo. Ang napakadamo ng in-between, closing canopy na yon. Pero tingnan nyo po itong multinationals, napakaganda pa rin. Why? They are well-trained, okay? And ang supervisor nila is licensed ng FPA as CPA. So kami po, isa po kami sa nagkakonduct ng training para ma-license po ang mga CPA na nagsusupervise or mismo kung sila man yung nag-a-apply. So they know what they're doing. They're educated, they are well trained. So lastly, itong slides natin to, gusto ko rin po magpasalamat sa Vice President for operations ng Aldis, no? Si Dr. Julio Sabolarse. Isa din po siya sa very kind and generous helping me para po makapag-ikot po kami dito po sa banana plantation. Hindi po ito kasama sa aking assignment, pero dahil alam ko pong magle-lecture ako today, so pinakaiusapan ko po sila na kung po pwede, makaikot po kami. And of course, I would like to thank Mr. Boy Dizon, the President and CEO of Dizon's Farm at saka ng Aldis Company. Nagbigay din po siya sa akin ng insights, no, sa management ng banana plantation, plus allowing us nga to roam around to visit this banana plantation. And last but not the least, kay Dr. Larry Aceres, some essential information provided to me para nagkaroon po ako ng malawak na information tungkol po sa weed management component ng banana plantations, yung po multinationals, as well as yung local producers or local farmers. Yan. Dahil po na sinabi ko, ito po yung ilan sa aking mga references. Okay. Thank you very much po uli at magandang tanghalian na sa bawat isa. Stop share ko lang po.
Sige po, Doc.
Okay, yan. Thank you very much po. Mabuhay ulit ang lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Doc Hill, sa inyong presentation. So gusto ko lang pong i-announce na para po sa mga prizes po ni Doc Hill, meron po tayong ginagawa na activity which is yung pumili ng top first 3 questions na nag-post po sa ating Q&A box. So meron na po tayong winner. Sila po ay si pa-check din ako.
Ang bilis nyo, ha?
Yes po, Doc. In advance na po namin.
Oh, sure.
So, yung mga related po sa topics na may questions,
Yes.
sa April Paho. Pa-check na lang po ng names. Pabigay po sa amin ng inyong GCash number para po sa inyong prize. Si Miss Blanca Ventanilla. Makaka-receive din po kayo ng 500 pesos. At si Sir Joel Rosario. Ayan. So speaking of Sir Joel, lumabol si Sir Joel. Meron pong tanong si Sir Joel, Doc.
Okay,
Sabi
sige.
po niya, IBGs are the common source of pesticide misuse. Kanyang question. First question daw po, any thoughts on the spraymen whom are not farmers or growers who use their own traditional herbicides application in years? So sa ano daw po ang inyong thoughts on growers who use their own traditional herbicides? And his follow-up question is, how about smuggled herbicides which are prominent in these areas? Does this contribute to possible weed resistance? Thank you daw po from Sir Joel.
Thank you, Joel. I know napakaganda ng hair mo ngayon. Okay. Ganito, no? Kasi lalo sa mga local farmers, sometimes not the farmers themselves who are spraying. Kumukuha sila talaga ng mga laborer na nakakaintinding mag-spray. Lalo nang mas delikado yon. Kasi nga unang-una, sinabi ko sa inyo, most of the pesticide misuse, okay, sa mga nag-i-spray na hindi natin naturuan, hindi natin na-train, okay, basta ang kanyang dala-dala sa katawan ay yung kanyang experience para mag-spray. Hindi siya well-guided. Unless i-guide siya ng farmer na dito ka mag-spray, itong stages ng damo na to, etc. So, I mean, the more na may problema talaga tayo, basta hindi educated, hindi trained, no, sa proper application of herbicides. Kasi dito, no, sa herbicide weed resistance, hindi lang naman damo ang tinitingnan natin, kundi yung performance of the herbicides itself. Marami sa herbicide lang, malupit yung pinagdadaanan ng herbicide, no? Kailangan weed coverage, may absorption, penetration, translocation. Pupunta siya sa target site. Pag nasa target site, dapat nasa toxic level siya, hindi siya deactivated. And then, saka pa niya ibibigay yung kanyang toxic effect doon sa site of action. Maraming factors para ma-disrupt yun. Climate, rainfall, dosage, etc., equipment use. So meaning, ako, sa aking analysis, no, hindi ako masyadong takot sa multinational banana plantation. Sa aking pag-ikot-ikot, the way I look at it, hindi ko na babanggitin kung anong company yon. Okay, the way I look at it, they know what they're doing in terms of weed management. Kita nyo man, napakalinis. Pero doon sa local farmers, tingnan natin, hindi maganda yung weed management. And mag-i-spray sila basta. So, kung ano man yung kanilang may spray, ang purpose nila just para lang makapag-spray. Now, yung mga smuggled, no? Maraming smuggled glyphosate sa Mindanao. Okay. Ang ganda pa ng brand name niyan. Yan yung original brand name pa. Along the highway sa Mindanao. Along the highway. Hindi ko naman binibigyan ng masamang pero Muslim yung mga nagtitinda ron. Siyempre, hindi naman natin trabaho na yon. ang trabaho, FPA ang bahala doon. Kasi sila yung mas nasa kanilang PD level 44, okay, yung mga smuggled pesticides na yan, kailangan talaga ma-prevent yan, no? Or ma-inhibit yan. Kasi nga, yung mga smuggled pesticide hindi dumaan sa FPA, yung quality hindi natin sigurado, tapos yung residue na gagawin yan, double jeopardy yan kung hindi natin alam yung nature, no, yung nature ng herbicide. So we have lots of problem, no. Kaya nga kailangan natin ng guidance lalo na sa mga local farmers, sa local producers. Kaya kagaya sabi ko sa aking presentation kanina, I think nandiyan yung malaking magagawa nyo, Nover, ng inyong HWAC sa stewardship program. I think pwede na kayo hindi masyado mag-focus sa multinationals. Doon sa mga maliliit na banana growers na yun lang din yung ikinabubuhay. Mas lalo silang may problema May malaking problema nila. So, take note doon sa picture, isang picture lang yun. Okay? Closing canopy na, pero isang katutak pa yung damo. Pero tingnan niyo yung sa banana multinationals, closing canopy, ang linis na. Wala kang halos makitang damo sa loob. So that's the difference. Ano yung problema doon sa local producers? Of course, sa local producers, siyempre financial. No, financial. Ano yung kung ano lang yung murang herbicide. Kasi ang manual weeding, malupit ang inuubos yan. Marahil lang isang hektarya kung napakadamo, baka 18 to 20 man days bago maubos, bago matapos yung isang hektarya na medyo moderate pa lang yung damo noon. Magkano yung labor? So, kung manual labor, baka 25 to 30,000 per hectare ang manual labor sa banana. So, herbicide talaga malaking tulong, but then we have to steward the use of herbicide. Yun, maraming problema pagdating sa local farmers, sa tingin ko.
Yan, salamat po sa inyong sagot, Doc Hill. So, marami pa talagang challenges sa sa banana production. So, yun nga din po yung follow-up comment ng isa sa ating may mga suspected nga daw ng mga issues. So, next po natin na question, Doc Hill, ay galing naman po kay Miss Annalyn Capulot. Is there banana production losses due to weeds infestation? If there is, how much daw po? Just an idea or estimate how much weeds are affecting banana plantations.
Wala akong local studies na losses due to weeds in the Philippines. Okay, particularly in banana, but generally, okay, yung previous presentation ko sa ibang conference, okay, is not only millions of dollars but billions of dollars being spent generally sa best management weed control. It's not only millions of dollars but billions of dollars is spent just to control weeds. Worldwide yun sa worldwide scenario. But then, of course, ang titingnan natin dito, yun yung kulang pa rin sa study natin, yung weed competition sa banana. And I have said, yung first 6 months, susceptible sa weed competition, o first 4 months, or within the first 6 months, yan, talagang susceptible sa competition yung ating banana. At kung makikita natin, doon, nung nag-ikot kami sa mga local farmers, talagang ang banana plant nila, stunted yung growth. Kung meron mang bunga, dahil madamo sa ilalim, mabibilang mo yung banana hands, yung piling ng saging. Swerte na limang piling ng saging doon sa madamong areas. Samantalang pagdating doon sa malinis talaga, you can count above 20 to 30 piling per bunch. So ibig sabihin, kung doon natin titingnan, talagang napakalaki ng yield losses due to weeds. It could be around 60 to 70% kung talagang mahina yung iyong weed management strategies. It's not only 50%. Ang banana kung makikita lang natin, is a monocot na mahaba, malaking puno, pero take note, ang banana tree or banana plant is one plant na is very sensitive sa weed competition. Mahina po siya sa weed competition, ang banana.
Yan. Po, Doc Hill. So aside from yung direct na competition, dagdagan ko na lang din po, nandiyan din yung posting of other pathogens and other
Correct.
insects. Yan. So very important din po yan na factor ng weeds sa ating.
Yes. So may additional question, Doc Hill.
Yes.
From Ramon. Sabi niya po, what type of herbicides needs to be registered to complete the lineup for controlling weeds in banana? Siguro, Doc, kahit mga MOAs lang.
Ayan, so
anong pang
pumili
additional.
lang.
Katulad nung, actually maganda na yung mga present registered pesticide. Ang kailangan lang dagdagan, but then ang kinakatagal lang natin yung food residue, no? Yung food residue, mahigpit kasi ang importing countries diyan eh. Kung ako ang tatanungin, no? Kung ako ang magla-line up ng weed management, yung first 4 months, sabihin na natin 6 months, yung vegetative growth stages. Okay? Gagamit talaga ako ng pre-emergent herbicide. Lalo-lalo kung may long residual action kasi yung first 2 to 3 months, pinaka-sensitive yan. Kaya if we will not allow weeds to emerge yung first 3 months because of the pre-emergent herbicide, so much the better. Now, wala namang perfect herbicide. Gawa ng climatic conditions, pwedeng ma-shorten yung residual activity ng pre-emergent. Pero kung akong tatanungin, mas gusto ko may pre-emergent herbicide akong gagamitin. Now, yung second flush of germination, okay, usually mga annual weeds yan eh, yung mga susunod dyan. Kasi sa pre-emergent, both annual and perennial ang nakokontrol. Pero pag basa ang lupa, may sunlight, mabilis ang annual weeds to germinate and to grow. Kaya ang susunod ko sa pre-emergent ay contact non-selective. Contact non-selective. Kung ano man yung AI na yan, yan yung gusto ko, no? Yung personally, akin. Now, siyempre, pre-emergent plus contact, mga annuals yan. Siyempre, kung wala pang closing canopy, merong mga lalabas dyan, sigurado perennial weeds. Anong magaling sa perennial weeds? Isang post-emergent herbicide na systemic or mag-selective control. It will be mechanical, manual, okay? Kasi pasulong ka na eh, papunta ka na sa reproductive. Kasi less herbicide application heading to reproductive, mataas ang percentage na kung registered yan na walang residue, mas sigurado ka mawawala ng residue kasi you're not closing in to the reproductive stages. So yun ang lineup ko. Any herbicide na may pre-emergent activity, then non-selective contact, to be followed by non-selective systemic. Iyan ang kasi ang sequence ng damo na lalabas. Of course, depende rin sa climate, depende rin sa soil topography, etc. Pero generally, iyan ang magaganap, no? Yan ang kaganapan. So, pre-emergent, contact, and systemic. Kung meron kayong mga herbicides na ganyan, so tingnan nyo po yung program. And then kung different mode of action, siyempre dapat different mode of action, okay, talagang mapiprevent natin ang herbicide weed resistance. And I think, ang banana multinational, no, practice na nila yung pag-cycle ng herbicide kasi eh. Kaya ginagawa nila sa insecticide yan, sa fungicide, kaya matagal na nilang ginagawa yung cycle ng mode of action. And the way I look at it, kung i-analyze ko nga yung mga registered herbicide, 4 lang yung nakita ko, no? Base din sa aking interview. So, you don't go ayoko na sabihin yung active ingredient, no, lalabas na ipinopromote ko. Basta generally, pre-emergent, contact non-selective, post-emergent, non-selective. Kung ganun ang gagawin do sa critical period, as I have said, tirahin natin ang damo sa weakest link. Yung bata pa sila. Huwag sa matanda na sila. Kahit mabangis ang herbicide mo, lalaban at lalaban ng damo kung matanda na siya because of the wax formation and they contain more enzymes to deactivate the herbicide, that leads to weed resistance. Hanapin yung weakest link and as much as possible sana favorable environment pag nag-i-spray. Okay, para hindi ma-disrupt yung processes ng absorption, coverage, absorption, translocation, toxic effect, etc. Yun.
And thank you, Doc Hill. Very very comprehensive yung suggestion ni Doc Hill, no? Calling all the companies kung sino merong ganitong herbicides na. So let's push through. Tapos sabi ni Doc Joy Abit, agree din daw po siya sa suggestion nyo.
Kaibigan natin niya si Joy. Kung hindi, sasabunutan ko yan.
Doc Hill, may habol na question. Pero hindi about banana, from Miss Flora Mia Datuin. I'm working in Abaca Research daw po. She's working. So, can you recommend weed control practices for banana for Abaca plantation, knowing that they belong to the same family?
Yeah.
So, very few daw po kasi ang mga published article regarding Abaca herbicides or weed management.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, Abaca is banana. It's a banana tree. Kaya lang, iba yung na-harvest natin sa Abaca. Yung stem niya sa ating banana plant, yung fruit. Ganito, ano? Anong pangalan niya nga?
Si Ma'am Flora Mia Datuin po.
Flora?
Si Mia Datuin po.
Mia Datuin. Okay, Miss Mia. No? Ganito yan. Since Abaca is also a banana plant, as I've said, gawin mo rin yung aking suggested weed control management sa banana diyan sa Abaca, which is also a banana plant pa yung Abaca. So ibig sabihin, ganun din. Ano yung growth stages ng Abaca? 1 year din ba? Kung 1 year yan, of course, yung first 4 months, yun yung sensitive to weed competition. And then ako talaga, I feel very comfortable na kung Abaca yan, hindi ko palagi ko hindi mo nagre-require ng residue sa Abaca, no? O nagre-require din. Kasi gagawin mo yan tela, gagawin mong pera, yung Abaca, or rope, baka may residue din yan, no? But then, I think kung yung gagamitin mong herbicide sa banana, gamitin mo sa Abaca, less problem ka na doon sa residue. So again, yun din ang sasabihin ko, a pre-emergent herbicide followed by contact non-selective and post-emergent non-selective. When I say non-selective, para lahat ng damo na doon, papatayin na niya. Okay. And as much as possible nga, kung closing canopy na, sana practice integrated weed management, no? Mag-mulching or use cover crops or selective weeding na lang. When I say selective weeding, yung fluoxy pop, magandang selective weeding. Kasi kung grasses lang, fluoxy pop is a grass killer. So, huwag ka nang gumamit ng ibang mode of action. Yung fluoxy pop lang, talagang nakaano siya sa grasses. So, yun, very strong siya sa grasses. So, use fluoxy pop. So, depende sa with components. Nakita ko, ginagamit din pala sa tea bags yung Abaca. So, kailangan din pala yung residue profile. So, I think safe ka kung ano yung ginagamit sa banana, hindi na pwede mo gamitin sa Abaca. Yan.
Thank you, Doc Hill. So, due to limited time, we will be answering your questions po via email. But we have last one question po from our Q&A tab from Mr. Jelmer Aguirre. So, nasan nga yung question, sir? Sir, ayan po. Ayan na kayo, sir. Nasagot niya na po pala yung kay Ma'am Mia Datuin.
Janina, naalala ko yung question ni Jelmer. Yung wala dun sa ano.
Ayan. So, are there any programs? Yun
yes,
po
programs.
From CropLife, multinationals, or government agencies being implemented to address herbicide misuse in local growers? If yes, do we have success stories in closing this gap between practices of the local growers and the multinationals? Naku, medyo tough question ata ito.
Ganito, no? Yung CropLife, bahala muna kayong sa stewardship program nyo. Ako, galing ako sa government. Matagal na kaming, kasi bago ako naging director, matagal akong head ng training and extension sa NCPC. So may mga program kami na to train the farmers, no, sa stewardship program, paggamit ng mga pesticides, hindi lang herbicide, pati insecticides and fungicide. And then, kung kailangan namin talaga, kung malawak ang scope, kami talaga ay humihingi ng funding sa DA BAR or sa ATI, Agricultural Training Institute, which is under the Department of Agriculture. Kasi mga government agencies, hindi ko mo UP, konti lang din ang budget namin. Tapos hahati-hatiin pa yan sa bawat institute or department. So, tama ka, kailangan talaga na meron talagang partnership, no? May partnership. Ang success, ma-measure mo kasi ang success kung sinusunod na ng farmer yung tinitraining natin sa kanila. But so far, since limited yung training component at limited yung funding, meron tayong success at meron din tayong hindi masyadong successful kasi sabihin na natin nakapag-train tayo, etc. Pero yung monitoring evaluation, yung feedbacking, hindi namin nababalikan kasi kung malayong lugar, kulang sa pondo. So doon nagkakaroon ng problema sa success. Pero yung sa mga malalapit na area like dito lang sa Laguna or Region 4A, yan, marami naman tayong success extension program. But then talagang lahat ng stakeholders sana kung ang SCUs, government, and then Department of Agriculture, and private, no? Kami nakakahingi din ng tulong sa mga private companies sa mga funding pagdating din sa mga ganyan. So, meaning ang success kasi yung human resources plus funding sana. Pag puro human resources, kulang ka sa funding, yon, may problema talaga tayo. Ang implementation may problema, so yung success may problema. Okay. So, sila Nover, sila Janina, CropLife.
Tama sa challenge. Yeah. So, thank you po.
So, paalala lang daw po sa amin, Sir Joel, dapat daw muna registered muna sa ABACA yung herbicide na gagamitin. So, yun lang po. Thank you. Sir Nover?
Yep. Thank you po. So, we would like to extend our thanks to our speakers, Dr. Hil Magsino and Doc Rio Perez. Ayan, thank you po. So, pinaka-common po na question sa ating chat box ay may matatanggap ba ng certificate? So, we have certificates of attendance from this activity. Please don't forget to put on your email addresses. Kasama naman po yun nung nag-register kayo. Ayan, so thank you. So, we would like to call on Sir RSA, Ramon S. Abadilla, for our closing remarks. Sir RSA.
Sir Mon, parang nakamute ka po.
Thank you very much again. No? Looks like a very informative webinar. This is our third webinar. Ang target namin 5. And it looks like, I really appreciate the effort of our HVAC team to continue pursuing their target for the year. Maraming salamat, Doc Leo. No? We really appreciate
welcome.
And it's nice to know that the Philippines was number 1 sa pineapple production, no? And it's a pride for us na ganon. Sana ganon din ang mangyari sa rice, sa corn, in terms of sustainability and food security. A lot of information, and hopefully those pineapple farmers that are attending and the academe and the students would really find it useful. Doc Hill, as usual, our favorite and member of the HVAC team.
My pleasure po.
You come in and substituted very well. It's nice also that you visited the banana plantation. No, I guess all of these are very important for us. And looking at the attendance that we have, kanina nakita ko nag 300 na, and then bumaksak, mukhang hindi nanalo yung iba sa sa raffle. Kaya umatras na. Hindi, nagbibito lang ako. But I would assume we will be closing to about maybe 400 to 500, including Facebook, no? Okay. So our target is really to continue adding on to the participants, and that's our metric of reach that we are looking for. I'd like to say, CropLife is all about pursuing sustainability advocacy. And that's very important for us. Sustainability, sometimes we relate it to innovations, we relate it to new products, but really knowledge is a very important aspect of sustainability. And the way we are doing this, we're pursuing it through the work that we are trying to do in terms of education, awareness. And there was a question, are we really working on trying to prevent misuse of chemicals? I can assure you that the members of CropLife Philippines is on that advocacy that we are going to try as much as we can in terms of resources that we have in the field in terms of misuse, and that has been a challenge for almost the history of the companies that are members here in the Philippines. So rest assured, but it's also incumbent on those who knows or are aware of those misuse to let us know so that we can help out. Because sometimes it's the wrong perception of how chemicals are used. No, the challenge today is very important. We need to really improve the production of our farmers. And if you look at the news around the world, it's all about food security. And we hope that we could be sustainable on our own and be able to provide for our own people. And if that happens, I think food will become a more a viable commodity than crude oil. Di ba? Nauuna minsan yung crude oil eh. We watch the prices of crude oil more intently than the price of food. And resistance, as we said, is very key in terms of the stewardship program that CropLife is working on. So with all the things that were said today and the information that were given, I think we hit all the buttons in terms of what we're trying to achieve today. And I'd like to thank the HRAC team, Nober, Janina, behind the scenes, si Bo, si Beth, si Beth, dalawang preparation ng ginagawa, board meeting at saka kaya halos batuhin na ako nito, ipapatukan na lang ako nito memya. Dahil sa ginagawa niya. And I think the rest of the HRAC team, I try to mention sina Cha, sina Edward, a lot of them, so I would encourage our team to continue the passion of providing this webinar. If we can do more, so much the better. 5 lang ang target natin, but if we want to do 6, 7, it's okay with me, basta nandun lang kayo. And of course, we have the experts like Doc Hill and Doc Rio also providing us guidance. Again, thank you very much po sa lahat ng umaten, mga farmers, plantation, organizations, and hope to see you in our next webinar. Thank you very much. Magandang hapon po and mag-ingat lagi, Nandiyan pa rin yung COVID. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Salamat po. Thank you po. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Doc Hill. Thank you, Doc Rio.
Okay.
See you next time.
Okay.
Salamat po.
Thank you, Rio.
Janina. Kasarado niyo na?